All right. And we are live. And welcome to the weather-free version of the last word. I am LordCognito here. Ebontis, the cheetah, tie guy, Travis, fresh on that Thursday evening. Get a chance to marinate Lightfall edition. E, how we doing?
Less windy today. We actually did have some rain earlier in the day, but that seems to have passed. No crazy wind. But yeah, all in all, we have a lot to discuss. So yeah, I've just been busy playing and putting out content, and that's it. So I've been living this game for a hot minute. Travis?
Great week for me. Playing lots of Destiny. I'm probably at 60, 70 hours of Destiny at least right now. Actually, that's probably a low number, if I'm being honest. Yeah, doing IGN First coverage, getting ready for GDC here in San Francisco. Lots of cool stuff going on. So it's a great month, great week for me.
I feel like GDC would be a really cool thing because it's all about game devs and just kind of hear more about the other side of the things that a lot of the players don't think about. I think GDC would be cool to hear.
It's awesome. I highly recommend anybody to go. I go to just talk to devs and check out their games, usually like meeting them in hotel rooms rather than on the show floor because there's lots of indies there who
if that wasn't a game demo, meeting somebody in a hotel room sounds so much worse than it actually is.
I just go to leave it alone.
That's
why I conduct all my meetings.
No, it's great, guys. I've got a meeting at 2 a.m. with Weinstein Games. It's gonna be really cool. They've got something they want to show me. So.
You are out of pocket.
Did we make it 30 seconds, guys? Was that 30 seconds?
What?
Did you survive demonetization yet? Okay.
Maybe. I think I can get through 7 seconds without curse words, but I'm about to drop one on you. So anyway, Cog, how you doing, man?
Yo, doing good, man. Doing good. Tons of Destiny. This is really back in the grind. So many hours, and then like Travis, prepping for PAX East at the end of the month. So a lot of appointments, a lot of interviews and stuff like that. And podcast. You know me. There's always something going on. But enough about me. This is the highly anticipated show with the highly anticipated returning guests. So we got to bring this man in, man.
Yeah. Welcome to The Last Word, episode number 240. As we are on the precipice of plunging into the Root of Nightmares raid for the next 48 hours, it is time that we reflect on the last 10 days since the launch of Lightfall. I apologize for the abrupt end of last week's podcast, but nearly 90 mile an hour winds and possible tornadoes caused me to lose power and hide in my closet for about half an hour. So, with less drama expected in the weather department, it is time for a deep dive review of this latest expansion, and joining us tonight is a true friend of the show and possibly the podcast's most prolific writer. This man somehow manages to be a dad and cover gaming and most high-profile TV shows with nearly 5 articles a day for his publication, and still squeezes out a YouTube video nearly every day as well. A warlock at heart, usually joined by a squeaky cameo from his corgi Eevee, and a father who may need to play outside with his kids just to have an excuse to touch grass. Let's welcome back the man who has always got a quick 500 words to keep you entertained on all things gaming and entertainment, Destiny, and anything else you may talk about. The one, the only, Paul Tassi. How you doing, man?
That was good. That was like your best intro I think I've heard from you. That was, for me, that was very impressive. Thank you.
And you got your own emote in game. That's got to be a
I know. Ben delivered. He told me like 9 months ago he was going to do one, and he finally got it. So
nice. That's great.
That one is actually pretty great too because they like.
Did you get it for free, or did they make
I
you
did
show
not.
up?
I am going to spend money for
now
it.
you need to petition.
I feel like I owe.
Yeah. This is why you need to get in good with the trademarking office, Paul. Let me tell you.
Yes.
Early.
Truly,
early
I am the owner of the touch grass meme. Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
The whole goal of this show, if you guys don't know Paul, please follow him over on Forbes, Twitter, YouTube, and all of the places where he puts out his content. He will definitely keep you entertained on a daily basis for sure, and at least informed of all the things, possibly reviewing games when he gets to check out the big ones. So it's nice to see you doing more reviews. That's been kind of cool to check out as well. Anything
You're
that
short on Marvel Snap decks, I have you covered. That's like half my coverage.
Hey,
now, so.
That's real news though. Okay, as somebody who plays a lot of Marvel Snap, what level are you?
3,100.
Gee, I don't even know what that is, but
I've never missed a daily challenge. Yeah, I don't even buy the bundles.
Never missed a daily challenge.
I never missed the daily challenges.
Okay, I have, but I feel like 3,000 sounds like about where I am. I'm gonna check right now. I haven't looked.
I don't know what
3,420.
Oh wow, okay.
I'm actually up there, dude. I'm pretty high.
That is amazing. Yeah.
I have no idea what that takes to get that high, but that sounds like you guys have 2 live service games now. So
possibly some
Well, the
money.
thing
but-
is, it's the perfect game to play while you're doing something else. So
Mhm.
I do
Yeah.
it with like, you're watching TV, just you got that going. I'm sure Paul does it when he's raising a 1-year-old kid. That's like the perfect game for
It is
fatherhood.
actually very good.
It's
Yes.
perfect. Yeah.
He's playing with
Great.
something over there. I'm just on Marvel Snap.
Yeah, it's great.
So how is it? And this is the one question. I gotta go verbatim though. So if you'll give
It's
me
from
a second.
Fallout, yeah.
Yes. Well, I gotta find it now too, because it was just too hilarious because he asked basically, how do you manage to do everything that you do and of course be a dad? Like
How did he put it? Like manage a child or something?
Yeah, basically. I'm trying to find Fallout's tweet on it, and I'm just like not finding it. Hold on. Too many tweets. That's unfortunately for all of us.
Oh yeah, he says a lot.
Tweet a lot.
Yeah, he tweet a lot. You sure you're gonna be able to find that one? The Fallout
It's
plays.
been slightly busy the last couple of days. That's that one.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, can you? So from Mr. Fallout Plays, previous guest as well. Can you ask Paul Tassi how he has so much energy between grinding multiple video games, recording YouTube videos, writing articles for Forbes, all while dealing with a kid? I'd like to know what brand of Coke specifically he recommends. And we're talking about Coca-Cola, of course.
Naturally.
AOD.
I mean, over time, you just kind of have to get it down to a science. So, like, Noah's daycare for like 8 to 4, 8 to 5, somewhere around there. And I work from home, and I would not be able to watch him full time here. And my wife works full time, so we spend time with him in the morning, and then after daycare, and then obviously on weekends. I try to jam all of my writing in between like 8 and noon most of the time. Like I can write pretty fast now, so if I'm doing something like fast and newsy, it's like 25-30 minutes at the most. Something more in depth can take longer, but the time it takes is usually finding stories rather than writing them. Like writing them can go pretty quick, but and then I don't spend probably more than an hour a day on my YouTube video, as you can tell if you watch my YouTube videos.
The best.
Production level is like this, me talking with 0 cuts for most of the
Love
time.
it.
I don't have time to put more in than that, and then everything else is game time, and especially that picks up now during expansions. So like afternoons and then late night after Noah goes to bed is gaming time. And I try to grind out as much stuff as possible. So
Beast.
It is
sorry.
impressive. No, yeah. I was just
What
gonna
live
say.
service games are you currently keeping up with? Marvel Snap, Destiny, or do you still play Genshin?
no, I had to give up
Dropped off.
Genshin. It was
Oh,
too
yeah,
much
that
content.
one's hard.
Like,
That one's
too
hard,
often.
dude.
They have
Yeah.
so much content every like
Yeah.
7 weeks or something. I was like, I can't do it. And like
If
I
you want to
just
see
way
a
too much money on
game that has
so
nailed the live service model, Genshin Impact.
Kitchen.
I don't know what they're
do
doing
it
over there,
right.
but like them and Destiny produce probably the most content per capita of like any live service game I could think
Yeah.
of. So it was literally
Yeah.
too much to keep up with. I couldn't do it.
Yeah. Genshin is probably lucky because they are a mostly single player game. Like their multiplayer is kind of secondary. It's a PvE game, and it's a
Mhm.
lot easier to produce that content, I would imagine, than to produce first person shooter content where you're doing like campaigns and Crucible
Yeah,
maps
for
and stuff
sure.
like that.
Yeah.
But they chuck it out, man. It's crazy. It's crazy.
It is
I'm on the
crazy.
same.
Like,
I'm on the same.
if I could
boat
clone
as you.
myself, that would be one game I'd kept up with. And a lot of games I could, like Lost Ark. I did enjoy Lost Ark, but like boy, that involves a lot of time, so I had to put that down too.
Are you gonna go into Diablo's world?
Oh god. Okay.
Oh,
I'm like
It is a live
legitimately
service game.
concerned about Diablo 4 in the sense that I'm like probably going to get super addicted to it because I was heavily addicted to Diablo 2 and 3, and everything about it looks good and sounds good.
Yeah,
and
it keeps looking pretty solid.
I do not know how I'm going to balance everything once that game comes out. For
Well, the problem is it's
I
what like June.
Yeah, it's like mid-June right now, unless they delay
Yeah.
it, which I don't.
They're not
think they
delaying.
will, 'cause
They're
there's a
not-
beta about to start, but
I can
Yeah.
confirm they're not delaying because I'm
Yeah.
reviewing it.
Ooh,
Really? Oh hell yeah,
yeah,
dude!
I'm
Congrats.
reviewing
Let's
Diablo
go.
4.
that's awesome.
Yes,
awesome.
That's a
and
huge review. That's going to be one of the
it
biggest
is
games of
it
the
is
year.
a huge
for sure.
review. It
And
probably
you
would be
already
my
did Hogwarts Legacy. You're
And
going
I
to
did
do the
Hogwarts
top 2
Legacy.
games of the year.
Seriously,
Yeah,
Yeah.
got it
Damn.
for real.
great. And I know that they're not
sometime
delaying
about
it.
that whole process, but
Oh yeah, we should talk about that. It'll be fun. Yeah, I'm reviewing that game, and I know they're not delaying it because their marketing is in full effect. This morning, they sent me via post mail a double down KFC chicken sandwich.
I was gonna mention this. Did you guys see
they
this?
actually sent you the sandwich.
They sent me one. They
hilarious.
sent me
So you
a
can
chicken sandwich.
So it's either two things. You buy the double down chicken sandwich.
Yeah.
And you can get early access. You can get like the beta access. Next weekend I think is the early access. You go buy one sandwich, and I was like, well, if you're not sure, go have the sandwich. This is the sandwich with like 2 chicken patties for buns. I mean, this is not a sandwich. This is just like a meat.
2 pieces of chicken.
Yeah, this is
It's
just
basically
just meat.
that's what my fiance and I had the same reaction. It was like, okay, this is just 2 pieces of chicken, right? It doesn't even need to be a sandwich. But the problem is you try to take it off as being a sandwich, and that's where you see problems because they do put stuff in the middle. It's like
they glue it
cheese
together.
and sauce. They glue it together. It is very clearly
food glue.
it's very clearly meant to be.
Did you eat it? Did you actually eat it?
I ate like a quarter of it, which is the most I could stomach. I mean, it's like a 1,200 calorie sandwich, and it's not big, but it's just so much meat. And then I was like, this is delicious. This is how I would drink or how I would eat if I wanted to diet. 32 years old. So I'm just gonna stop there. But yeah, it was horrifying.
But no,
it came with the beta code.
But hey, you're in the beta now.
Yeah, I'm in the beta.
Yeah. March 17th, you got the early access. That's next week. I have family in town that weekend, so I'm gonna have to try and play while they're sleeping or something. I don't know. The open beta is the week after, but it's out June 6th. When does the next Destiny season start? May 22nd. Like literally week 2, Season of the Deep is gonna be Diablo 4, and it's like.
Oh man.
To be fair, the season right after a major expansion is usually pretty light. It's usually our lightest.
I don't know, man. Did you read the quad today? We got secret Lightfall quests and all sorts of crap happening.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it was what? Opulence, Haunted. Is that right?
Opulence wasn't. No, it was.
No, not Opulence. Chosen. Chosen
was big. I think the middle season's usually the smaller one.
Yeah, that third. Where Haunted fell, basically. The season of the question marks, like Season of the Worthy or Season of the Unworthy, as we so eloquently don't call it here. Yeah. So just in case you were curious if summer was going to keep you busy, it will.
Yes. Sir.
But intros out of the way and all the fun chat, I think we do have this game to discuss.
Yes, sir.
So I know last time, if you guys watched the show live, I was pretty much hit or miss for the opening of the whole show. I know Travis and Cog got a chance to chat, but that podcast is recorded and stuck in a little folder and will never see the public again. So, as we've had about a week to digest things, you may have the same take, you may have different takes, but again, I just kind of want to start Lightfall, first 10 days, raid excluded. Where are we landing with everything? And
quick point of clarification. Are you saying that thing we recorded is lost to time?
I have it, but it's probably not going to get posted.
Because that was where Cog said that I was right.
Which I was going to repeat.
I think that's the only time he's ever said that on the show. And I feel personally attacked by that being removed from.
I will post that up to the, that will be the first clip on the Last Word Podcast Clips channel. How's that?
I was going to remix it, man.
Remix it. Let's open with that, Cog. Let's see if your opinions have changed, but your overview since that's gone.
I got some additional context, but my initial feeling, when we're talking about the narrative specifically, right, is like I said last time before we got cut off, I owe Travis an apology because, coming off of, calm down, Paul, I got you, don't worry about it. The thing is, coming off of Witch Queen, which is Pinnacle Bungie narrative, Pinnacle campaign, the story of Savathun was just so expertly done with a great twist, and then the content behind it, which we all enjoyed. My issue is that this is their equivalent of Infinity War to me, right? This is their equivalent of the stakes are at its highest, right? And this would be literally me going to watch Infinity War, and I don't understand why Thanos is doing what he's doing. I don't understand what the Infinity Gems are and the purpose of the Infinity Gems are. And then you close the story with killing a sub-boss who I actually liked. I liked Callus, but I didn't like the way he was portrayed in this story.
Yeah.
He clearly was predictably going to be, just holding up the story and he was dealt very unceremoniously. He didn't even have Volk energy as a disciple of the witness. He literally just had a gun, and it's just he's callous with, like, come on, like, it was just disrespectful. The Cloud Striders, look, I get it, the archetypes, very the young, brash, I don't want to listen, kind of. And then you got the elder statement. Predictably, I saw that the elder statements, who I actually like, Rohan, was kind of killed off very quickly. Spoiler, sorry if you didn't.
Oh yeah, fair warning to everybody. This is full spoilers for the first 10 days.
Okay,
so if you haven't played, no, I was gonna say, if you haven't played, tune out now and earmark this for later.
And look, y'all know I'm Team Osiris. I'm always biased towards Osiris. Boy, it was a little naggy this year. Like there's a part of me that says I understand the stakes are high, but it's like, calm down, bro. Like, how you telling me how to use Strand and you don't know how to use it your damn self? Like, how you? I thought that was funny. But anyway, the long and short of it is, from a narrative perspective, I was disappointed because the bar was set so high from what we came off, right? Now, another week, couple more days to settle in. Right? As far as the content, as far as Strand as an ability, I'm loving it. As far as the actual quest after the campaign, giving a little bit more context to Nimbus, who, I'll be honest, wasn't the biggest fan of him. You know what I'm saying? Initially, right? I felt they're starting to feel something. I actually love, I think Travis is allowed to say it now, but I actually love the seasonal activity with Mara, very much so. I like what's going on there. I like the character development there. I just felt there was just so much stuff that they left on the table with the campaign that they slowly fill it out. But from a core gameplay stuff, and let's just call it, I got to be real, I thought Strand was fraudulent in the beginning because the way they used it in the campaign was just like, they were blue balls at us. It was like, you can do it. Oh, I can't do it. It was driving me
nuts.
My
second playthrough drove that in even worse. Like the
3 times.
When you finally get a chance to play with Strand, this is arguably one of the best. I can't get off of it. Like the seasonal, just the grind of it, the gameplay loop, the suspend, the unravel. I know Titans, y'all looking good. They're looking good, Titans. I know I was concerned, and all of us was
still
concerned.
Probably not an in-game subclass, but it's a lot of fun.
A lot of
we'll
fun.
Get there.
But I think E, in a gesture of good faith to Cog, you and I owe him an apology about bitching for a year about Strand going to be underwhelming for Titans, because we were dead wrong. It's not underwhelming. It's
they
super
even
powerful.
A statement. They're like, we see the feedback about Strand Titans, and like,
and I was like, okay, I'm like, actually, you know what, Bungie, I take that one back. You were right. It's actually a pretty good roaming super. It lets you suspend people, which seems just way OP. And then
it's going to get nerfed. They're going to nerf timers.
Yeah. I'm sure.
Like a 16-second suspend.
Is it that long?
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
When you're
very
tying
long.
up enemies like this, the most disrespectful. It's so much fun. It's so much fun.
Dude, it's BDSM Destiny. It's great, dude. It's amazing. Yeah.
Somebody had ideas. It's fun. But
I'm glad I'm glad this is a green and not a black subclass, because if they're strung up with black strings, then you're in trouble.
Hey, we gonna move on. So
no, we're not.
That was good. That was good. But the whole shut up, Trav. So the thing is, the last point I'll say is what really rounded out for me is, even I was skeptical, Paul, about when we first saw the weapons announced. I'm like, we getting a glaive, we getting a sidearm. Like, I was a little underwhelmed in this. But when I played, bro, that glaive is so broken they got to disable it. I love Final Warning. Bro, that's Titanfall. If you play
Strand sidearm,
that's the smart pistol, bro. Hold the thing down, get the top. It is so much fun. It rips harder than Devil's Ruin. I'm loving the Strand legendaries. The Hatchling as a perk. Envious Assassin is straight up busted. I don't know if y'all been playing with that. Envious Assassin is just straight busted. That's like recombination, whatever, on steroids from Deepstone. And the last thing I would say is, and I'm curious about Travis and I'll end with this. I fear that due to a certain backlash, and a certain review that has gone viral based on, feelings and emotions of my good friend, which I feel is based on a lot of that narrative, which I agree with him on the narrative portion. But I have to admit, call me tinfoil, but don't y'all think it's a little interesting that we got an exotic quest before a raid and the aspects unlocked before a raid. Call me conspiracy theory, but part of me feels that that reaction wasn't what they thought they were going to get, and we have accelerated the timeline on the fun. Because I've never seen an exotic quest drop before a major raid, and that quest is great. And I haven't even finished the Vexcalibur thing, and people are telling me. So that's all I got to say. Gameplay loop, fun. I'm enjoying it. Narrative was a huge miss. Currently, it's about a 7 for me. Depending on how they land this raid, is whether I put it above Beyond Light. But it's in middle of the pack. It's not Witch Queen. It's not Forsaken. It's battling
for number
spot.
3. Okay.
It's fighting for it. It rose back from the ashes from me because the narrative I really wanted to throw it in the bushes. So that's
you're
where
a
I'm at.
Warlock and Phoenix Dive, so the rising from the ashes makes perfect sense.
Yes.
Well,
so I'm done.
To hear from the other Warlock before we get the official take, Paul, where has this 10 days landed for you? I know we've seen plenty of articles about things, YouTube videos, but where are you at?
I never thought about them dropping the exotic quest early as a reaction. That is entirely possible that they did that. As the Strand fragments, obviously they said like, okay, Strand is actually good. We promise. Like, here's all the fragments. But I did not consider, because a week 2 huge exotic quest drop is pretty unusual. I don't remember when Vox Obscura was, but I don't think it was week 2.
Feels like a 3 or 4 post raid. Yeah,
that seems like that would have been something to put like later in the season when there's a little dead time and whatever. So interesting. Okay, so I'm pretty much in the same camp where I think Lightfall did one thing very badly, some minor things hit or miss, and then it did a lot of things really well. Obviously, I'm talking about the narrative of the campaign, and that sucks because that is how everybody gets their first impressions, because that is the first thing you're going to experience. I've seen the clip where someone just takes the first cutscene and the last cutscene and puts them together, and like, you didn't really miss anything.
It's like
in the middle.
Big Bang Theory.
Someone died we've never seen before.
That's because that's what happened, as we know.
Exactly.
Anyway.
Like it very much, the story at least very much feels like something that was built to fill space rather than something that we actually needed to do.
Yep.
Like even the whole concept of Neomuna just feels wildly kind of out of nowhere. Like, oh, by the way, there's this secret city that no one has ever known about.
Like I was saying, like 6 months ago, when I saw the trailer, and I was like, "This looks like not Destiny. This looks like filler." Well, anyway,
that part is definitely true. Cloud Striders, I think one thing that would have helped the Cloud Striders is if they put the Rohan exotic quest in the campaign, like as you were going, because it was very weird to like have that at the end. I'm like, oh, okay, now there's more characterization. Like that should have been after Rohan's death to like. Because I was like, how are they just moving on from this? Like they don't seem to be reacting.
Yep.
And then it was just deeply confusing by the end, to the point where like it's not even just the veil. It was the whole thing with him cutting the triangle and the Traveler, and then you get to the tower, and Zavala was like, "Well, the Traveler's dead." I'm like, "What?" The Traveler's dead? I'm like, where are you even? And then as they explain it, they're like, actually, we don't really know what happened to the Traveler,
right.
So. Who knows?
He's gone, but
it's gone. But like we still have our light, which doesn't make any sense because like even when the Traveler was caged in the Red War, we lost our light, like much less dead. So this seems like it was a badly put together story to the point where like I equate it to the original Destiny 1 vanilla story where it is that nonsensical, and it's almost worse because we know that they can make good expansion stories now.
Yes.
Last year, like Witch Queen was
more on that later.
stellar, yeah. But moving on from the campaign, like there is nothing else that I can get that upset about. The commendation system obviously is kind of goofy. Like you just spam them. It's just sort of ridiculous. That ties into the Guardian rank system, which I could take or leave. I don't think it's a very good new onboarding process. It is very silly to give everyone veteran rank 6 if you have 20 hours in or 20,000 hours in. That part makes no sense. But those are kind of minor additions to the game where it's like, okay, I don't really think they nailed this, but like they could probably tweak it and like it's not going to be that big of a deal. Everything else I would say I am super positive about, pretty much. I think Strand fundamentally is one of the best things gameplay wise they've added to the game. like the entire series. I think it is that good. It is that creative. It is that well designed. And I posted a video like right after the campaign. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with Strand? Like, how did this get so screwed up? And that was both wrong, but also like I think people understand why that was wrong, because the introduction to Strand is so weird, because you have it in the campaign and it's you know, you have these crazy low cooldowns, so it's good in that way, but then it's also bad because you don't have a Strand build, you don't have any of the fragments, you don't have a Strand exotic, so like it makes no sense for these like giant boss encounters.
You run exotics that don't even help Strand. Sorry, good.
Yeah.
You
So
that.
you know, switching off your main subclass for that, and then once you end, you try to grapple, and there's a minute 40 cooldown on it, and you're like, what is this? And like literally at the end, all it took is like one fragment that's like, oh, by the way, you'll get your grenade back or your grapple back if you do a lot of damage. That immediately fixed it pretty much. Just that. And then you obviously you get the full kits, and like once you really dive into Strand builds, it is genuinely the most fun I've had with a subclass in a very, very long time. Easily better than Stasis. Like I know Stasis was strong at launch and it wrecked Crucible, but I think it's easily better than Stasis. Just also in terms of, you talked about the campaign story. I thought the campaign gameplay was fine. I enjoyed playing those missions. Travis, this is where I depart from Travis. I think in terms of a combat perspective, I still very much enjoyed running the Legendary campaign, which I did 3 times. I did not like what they did with Callus. I thought he was just like kind of whining the whole time and like complaining about wealth and stuff. And, you know, compared to Savathun, it was pointless. I thought that was a pretty good structured boss fight. You know, by campaign standards, it was better than the Savathun boss fight in Witch Queen, at least mechanically. So that part of the campaign, I didn't really mind as much. I think the process of unlocking Strand and like starting to, you know, farm up the gear, Season of Defiance is very strong, I think. Both in terms of narrative, I would say. I think it's 2 separate narrative teams working on seasons and expansions, but this whole thing, like the Crow Amanda cutscene, was better than anything in all of Lightfall.
Yes.
I think the Battlegrounds are really interesting and creative so far for Battlegrounds. It surprised me in a few unexpected ways. With the new one this week, where you're getting pulled in and out of the Ascendant Plane by the Scion. And then the new system with these, here's some keys, here's some engrams. I don't know, go focus some stuff. Like that is way better as a more streamlined system than what we've had previously with like 50 currencies and like Umbral energy and Umbral's focusing, and like I think it's a much better system. So I don't know, I'm going on forever because I shouldn't cover every aspect of the expansion in my first.
Yeah, I will say so far the first 2 panelists have done excellent with the 30,000 foot view. Continue, Travis.
Sorry,
I can give a 30,000 foot view. I'm happy.
He's like, I'm a professional. Let me see what I got.
I'll do. I got this. Yeah, I mean that a lot of times a review is kind of that, especially when you do the video review and you have to chop it down to like 1,400 words or whatever. So I gave my review in progress last week, and I gave it a 5 out of 10 as a temporary kind of if I had to grade it now. That hasn't changed in the 10 days that I'm doing it, and I'm happy to explain why. Some people pointed out like, oh, you know what? It's just because all you played was the campaign and that's your review of the campaign. That's not true. But first of all, the campaign has a lot bigger problems than its story. And I think people are forgetting what we got with the Witch Queen, because the campaign, obviously everybody agrees that the story is unforgivably bad. Right? Like it's just true. The lore doesn't make sense. The characters are really bad. I saw somebody posting something about how, you know, they like that Nimbus makes jokes, and my problem isn't that Nimbus makes jokes, it's that the jokes aren't funny. That's really what it comes down to. The writing's bad, and I don't think there's a way to kind of dance around that. But the campaign is weak. On a campaign, if you take the story away, if you look at what the Witch Queen brought, the Witch Queen had puzzles. It had raid light mechanics for all the bosses, where you're doing runes and you had to go through portals and match symbols. And they were getting to this point where it felt like the legendary campaign was feeling kind of like an intro to the raid, where you were doing mechanics and stuff like that. Yeah. That is all gone in this campaign. It is the worst skeleton of like series of strikes I've ever seen. It's circular arenas where you're literally running in a circle, multiple battles. Callus running in a circle. The fight just before that, running in a circle inside of a simulation. There are all these terrible arenas that are just designed to kind of keep you looping because you have a whip and they don't let you take that off until the campaign's over. And so they have to make use of that. So you got to have circles you can zip around in. And they took away all of the stuff that I think was a huge step forward in the Witch Queen. And it's to me, it's clear why. It's the same reason why the story feels like it was the first cutscene of the final shape, right? And that they added padding to it. It feels like this campaign is padding. And going beyond that, the new zone that they gave us feels like padding too. It feels like the most generic, empty corporate park. It is lifeless. It's the fact that it literally is lifeless, has no humans in it because they couldn't afford to put a physical human. So they wrote out a reason that they're all in the metaverse is the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
Neomuna with like gunfire everywhere. That like they had to have some sort of middle.
You're telling me that they couldn't at least do what they do on the tower and had real humans up top on the skyscraper with you
in the windows?
Instead they put in the tower, there's people walking around, just normal folks in the non-combat zones. Yeah, you clip through them, but still, they couldn't even do that. To me, that's 3 of the major failures. And then if you build on top of that, all the stuff that isn't in this expansion that really pisses me off. The fact that we got 1 new strike, right? The fact that we got 0 new Crucible maps, the fact that they did 0 to Gambit. They are leaving so much of their game rotting on the vine in the worst possible way that they've done nothing to address. And I mean, once you run out of things, the campaign to do, and then you got a couple missions here and there, they're good. I will give them that. The exotic quests are great, all 3 of them, and then the 4th one that they added, Excalibur, which I did, is awesome. But that is very content light. You legitimately run out of stuff to do where you're just like, all right, now I guess I'm just grinding power back to Crucible, back to the same strike playlist as before. You're there in like 10 hours. And it strikes me as something that they pushed out for filler. I'm not questioning their motives, or that's not part of the review, but I'm very disappointed in this game. And more than one person, including somebody in the chat, Spade, I do want to answer your question. Travis, how could you give Lightfall a 5 when you gave Shadowfall a 7.9, but at the time we had a 100 decibels. So it's effectively a 7. The reason's pretty simple. Lightfall came out in 2023 and Shadowkeep came out in 2019. Things change. This game has evolved. The game's medium in general has evolved, but more importantly, the recipe is incredibly stale right now. And I wrote this in a box out in my review. What was novel 4 years ago when they were first getting into the seasonal model and Bungie was independent and they added finishers and they were kind of improving the game, it felt like they were setting up for something great. And it was a very different mood and a very different world we were living in back then. We're 4 years removed from that. Now it's not novel anymore. Now it's boring, right? You can't release Ocarina of Time 4 times in a row and expect them to be delighted the exact amount, right? Like 4 years on, you've got to evolve the franchise. You got to get to Wind Waker and Breath of the Wild. It's got to move somewhere. And Destiny feels like it is stuck in the mud right now. And the worst part about it is that we just got done seeing how good Destiny could be. They raised the bar on themselves to a level that did not exist before Shadowkeep. Witch Queen hadn't happened yet, right? And so we've gotten to this point now where we've seen the potential of Destiny, and they have let it down so badly. And the worst part for me is that they've ruined a lot of the goodwill and momentum they had going into the end of Destiny. And I think people are going to remember this. And it's going to be a tough year for Destiny, I think, going into this, because it's just it kind of sucked the air out of the room, right? Like, it's like, we saw how good it can be. And I personally think the final shape is going to be awesome, because I think that there's a reason we got the half-baked Lightfall that we got, because they really wanted to put the extra time into the final shape. And I think the final shape is going to be great. I think that's what happened.
Just interrupt real quick, because you're on fire with a couple of points that I do agree with, in the sense that, because of what happened here, obviously I'm not as hard on the gameplay loop post narrative in the actual game, and I'm not as hard as you on that. But what I do agree with you is that because they fumbled the ball so much on this one with the narrative and stuff, that now all that old D1 energy starts to come back. Like, are they going to tell this story correctly and land this plane? Because you were already here, right? And that's why I owed you the apology, because I thought when they were there with Witch Queen, they got it. They got the formula. It's smooth sailing. They can't go nowhere up but this, or at least maintain that level. So when I saw that reduction, I'm just like, ooh, I'm actually concerned. Are they going to finish it? But to your point, last thing, I'll give it to E because I know he's been patient, is that Bungie historically reminds me of the kid who studies for the test at the last minute and gets that grade. And they kind of bungle around sometimes. And they have this moment where it's like they'll have a great moment and then, we have this unusually step on your own, rake in the hit you in the face kind of moment. And then they come back again at their least experience. What I'm hoping based on their history is that they do understand that. And it is good that we have given them this feedback for the things that we didn't like. And hopefully it wasn't a situation that I just hope that it was a situation that they didn't feel that they could have delayed this in the same way they delayed Witch Queen.
I wish they would have.
Yeah, to really give them more time, because people forget, what was Witch Queen, Paul? Maybe 6 months? How long was Witch Queen delayed?
It was delayed like 4 or 5 months. It was not a full 6 months.
It wasn't 6 months, but it was I think it was 5.
I personally think that they should have an 18-month. 18-month where they alternate between fall releases and spring releases and just take 18 months to do it. That seems like the right.
Lightfall might end up more than a year. Like I could. Sorry, Final Shape, because if the reaction to this, I do wonder if they're going to be like, let's put another 3 months on the last season and make sure it's going to land.
I want to say 2 more points that I really want to talk about that annoy me, and then I do want to talk about the things I love about Lightfall, because I do love some stuff. Okay, so the 2 things that annoy me. 1, there are a lot of reskinned weapons in this expansion. A lot, like most of them. And not just the expansion, but in the seasonal stuff too. There are reskinned weapons of the same stuff we've had. Super irritating to me. All right. That's the other one. The other thing is that the stuff that they added to the game. Actually, I'll save that. I don't need to go there. But the things I love about this expansion. 1, I love Strand. Everything you guys said about doing it, I sort of had a same lukewarm reception at the beginning. I've changed my mind about that, and it's going to be reflected in my final review. Strand is much better than I originally gave it credit.
It's a 6 now. Yes.
Maybe we'll see. I think the raid will determine whether it's a 6.
I can't wait to see your score go up.
Raid is going to matter.
A Bungie show for. Your score.
It would probably only, even if the raid's fire, I can only see Travis taking it to a 6. Raid's not gonna jump him 2 points. If he's hard 5 now, raid would probably only be a point.
You're probably right. And people look at a 5 as like, Travis, you butchered this game. A 5 at IGN means mediocre.
No,
I would describe Lightfall as incredibly mediocre.
You and Dan, I do not subscribe to this philosophy. You can't just ignore the context of the industry with what a 5 out of 10 means. A 5 out of 10. A 5 out of 10 would be the worst reviewed game. Like, if it was a 50 on Metacritic, that is the worst reviewed game of the year by far. Like, I understand IGN's little scale and the little things you attach, but in the context of the industry, does not make sense.
That's fine. But when people are asking, Travis, how could you give a 5? That's the worst. I did not give it a 4. A 4 means it's bad. A 6 means it's okay. 5 for me is mediocre, and Lightfall to me is the definition of mediocre. It is very middling. It's underwhelming. I would describe, and I have not found a single person who does not say that they're. No, it's not. A 7 means good.
Not at IGN. Not at IGN.
7 means good. Yeah,
I know.
Listen, Forbes, get in your corner. IGN, get in your corner.
I'm growing to hate scores because of this whole thing, because it really is a 7 to 10 system in the industry, and it's very annoying. But and when you go outside of that, you get crazy reactions like you got.
Exactly.
This.
That's why
You're getting that reaction.
But that's the industry. Yeah, having a hard time with their own obstacles. That doesn't affect me. And so I would say it to me, I have not found a single person who does not say that they were at least disappointed with Lightfall. Because we all had expectations of what Lightfall was, and I don't think that this hit that. So at the very least, I think if you are giving this game a 7, you're saying it's good. You are really, really being nice to them, because I would say at best they are a 6. At best it was okay, right? It wasn't a 7. It wasn't good. I would describe it.
Change your whole world.
All right, so let me talk about things I love. Strand, I love. I love Tormentors. Obviously, it's a small edition, and I'm really hopeful that the Tormentors are the first of a whole pantheon of darkness creatures that are coming with Final Shape. We're gonna get to
You
see
need the
more of
full
them.
toy line. Remember,
I
Travis.
have
the
a, I have
full
a
toy
feeling.
line.
I have a feeling that they
All the
took one of the
collectibles.
toys out of the toy line that was ready early, and they dropped it into Lightfall, and they said, we'll break them off a little preview of the remix. This is the first mob they're gonna get out of a whole group of
It's part of the darkness toy line. I
really
respect
like that. Really love that. And then the final thing that I really like is I've forgotten, but there was one other thing. Damn it! All right.
Sorry, anyway,
At least
would
one
have
thing.
been the quality of life, the
Loadouts?
loadouts, the mod, the ease of
Oh, the
use
mod
of
system.
mods.
It was not that. So unfortunately, the quality of life stuff ends up being a wash for me because the loadout thing is cool.
That's a point.
Look, let me give you my reasons. The loadout thing is cool, but then you can't send stuff back to your vault, so it makes it effectively useless, and you just have
And
to
you
pick
can't
up
transfer
them
between
anyway.
characters. Which
You can't transfer between characters.
That's a problem.
It's pretty much useless. You have to get dim anyway, so that's
All right,
one's a
I will-
wash.
I will
And then
give you this.
the commendation system / guardian rank
Oh,
is
yeah, garbage.
maybe actively bad, and so I just have
It's a
a
beta.
hard time with those ads. So
Sorry,
Yeah.
I just had to say for Paul because he's a Destiny main like me. What bothers me about the loadout is why can't I take my emblem, my ship, and everything else with it? Why is it just the weapons? Like Dim has the whole shebang. Like I get my emblem. It's a look.
The other
your
thing,
subclass.
I don't know if you guys have actually tried using it, but it's super buggy. So if you give your pieces of armor different colors and skins attached to them through transmog, and then you switch between them, a lot of times it won't change one part of your armor. It'll keep the old colors and the old
I
skin.
did notice that. It did that on
And
my
it
exotic. Yeah.
It annoys the crap out of me because I'll be switching between like my cool cowboy outfit and then my samurai outfit, and all of a sudden my cowboy's got like samurai shoulder plates, and I'm like, what the? That's not how that's supposed to work, and you can't get it to work. You have to manually go and so basically, it just makes you have to use dim anyway. So I have a hard time giving the quality of life stuff.
I think it'll, but this is
credit.
like a clear area where they can just build on it in time.
Yeah.
And like I think they're going to add more stuff to it. So like I wasn't expecting it to be perfect like day one.
Correct. And I know they will improve it. And either way, they're better than it's better that they have something than nothing. So I'm not going to knock them for it. But the other thing I want to talk about, I remember the other thing that really has been irritating me. This game is super buggy. It's super buggy.
Yeah,
That's real. That's real.
It has lots of bugs. It's probably the buggiest release of Destiny they've ever put out. And I'm scared for the raid because if you remember the last raid, it did not go well. People were really salty about the world first because they were getting DC'd and stuff. I'm super worried. Hope there's a lot of threshers.
Yeah.
Dude, I saw who was that? DMG.
You said there were no puzzles in the campaign,
Bro.
but the puzzle is how to avoid getting one shot by a thresher. And
Right, you need to run it 30 frames per second.
I
You're gonna
literally
go back
locked
to
my
PA.
frame rate for the anti-aircraft.
Did you? What did you lock it to?
30. It fixed it at 30.
Yep.
You're playing a slideshow, so you don't get killed by
terrible.
threshers.
It was only for that. It was only for that one
hurts,
segment,
too.
just until I got past it. But
Are
I
you
was like, I'm
serious?
so tired of these missiles. Like I can't.
Is
do
it the last mission with the like jump up the tower section where the threshers are? Yeah, same thing
There's at least
happened to
2 or
me.
3 threshers, and
I
I'm
was-
like,
yeah.
I keep getting stealth killed by these things I can't see or hear.
Can't see.
I'm just
Exactly.
dead. I'm like,
One shot.
forget it. I'm locking it, and it worked.
You're like,
The
all
threshers
the enemies are in front of me, and all of a sudden dead. And I'm like, what the? And it says Thresher
you
like
see the
floating
outline
way
of the
back
Thresher,
here.
like-
Yeah.
Facts.
And I'm just, I was talking to somebody in my Discord. They're like, oh, I didn't. They're like, I shot the gun off the Thresher. I'm like, okay, first off, didn't think about that. But secondly, you grapple to these things, so they're kind of hovering with the arena. They should not be shooting you silently either. So I guess I'll just jump into my thoughts since I just kind of took that over.
Oh,
Yeah,
I remember the last thing I loved.
Maybe
The
not.
difficulty. I love the difficulty.
Yes.
That was the last thing I loved. I
okay,
love
the
that it's
legendary
harder.
campaign difficulty, right?
Legendary campaign difficult.
Not all of the difficulty changes.
Not
they've
the
made
Mars
are
not the Mars Nightfall.
Extreme.
Oh,
Legend
you're right.
League.
Yeah, I did play that today. That was super hard. I kind of
It's-
like it because I'm, I want to see how it goes.
You
but
did it
I
on
like,
Hero. Is that where you did it?
I did it on Hero, but
I've
I
heard
was playing with
Legend
the
is a
7.
nightmare.
I was
Legend is
playing
like
with
a
the I was
cheat.
playing with the 1775 Warlock on 1770 Nightfall Hero, and it was really challenging. We got our butt spanked, and I kind of am into that. I like
You're
harder
maxed
games.
out on Hero. You're maxed out at -5, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, cool. There you
Yeah.
go.
Got
So
it.
yeah, that I mean, it felt good to me. It felt like
Plus,
wow,
the
this is
lost
actually. I
sectors have
to-
felt horrible.
Really?
I've not
They're
done
slow.
that.
They
I've
are
not done
slow.
Are they
that.
super
They
challenging?
do not feel good. They got to dramatically up the rates if they're going to have that be a farming thing.
Oh yeah, I was
Really?
talking
Sorry
to.
about this. We keep taking.
No,
our
no,
time.
you're good. No, I mean literally talking about lost sectors would be one thing because I did it last week sometime. I was working on like, hey, that's one of the things for Guardian ranks. And it was, go do a Lost Sector and then like solo Flawless Legend. I was like, fine, I'll work my way through. I've done plenty. But I was like, in the TWAB before Lightfall even came out, they're like, hey, we're going to review Lost Sector drops and see if they should be raised. And I just want to be like, bump them up already. Like, you could literally 2x it right now and no one is going to be mad because you already have to roll 3 dice. You have to roll the slot depending on the day. You have to roll the total stat distribution. Then you have to see if you're going to actually get it distributed how you want. Much less trying to get 1 2 drop. So when I hear about people running like 5 Lost Sectors and seeing nothing drop, those things don't take 2 minutes now. Those things could take an average person like, I don't know, 8 to 10 minutes. So if you spend an hour and you get nothing, no. Now, granted, yeah, I'll get a prism now when I do one. And I'm like, okay, that helps a little bit. But I was like, raise the cap on prisms because I'm just going to be running into 50 all the time now. So that's the whole thing. Okay. You guys have said a lot and you guys have covered a lot of kind of where I'm at with it and different everybody's aspect. The campaign and the story, we all had the worry. I mean, Travis was spot on. Definitely. We will bow down to that premonition, basically.
One time.
Yeah. No, I mean,
friends be honest with friends.
We wanted to be hopeful that they could pull it off. But we also had the fear that Callus wasn't going to deliver, worried that he was going to be a pawn, 100% a pawn. Like, he had a couple moments and he's like, oh, I'm going to be cool and be all shiny and gold and hold my chalice. And then Witness shows up. I'm like, you're the dude I want to see. Callus at this point, I have, enjoyed his kind of grandiose nature. He was just a little, not going to say the word right now, but he was just being a little bitch the whole time. He's just, and then like the one where like when the Witness gets mad at me, he goes over this, man, I'm going to throw my chalice. Where? Like, that's how that was his energy. It's like, I am going to pledge power to the Witness. He did not do it for the Witness, for the power, because he thought about the devotion. He's like, cool, I can be more grandiose and gold. And that was his only care. So it was like his had nothing on Savathûn, nothing on our experience with Savathûn, the history we got, the fact that, when you saw her turn, there was no cliff moment. Are you kidding me? We did not scratch the surface of Savathûn on the cliff saying like, actually, talking to the traveler. Ooh. Nothing like that.
Classic.
As the pieces you guys have said, if you put the beginning and ending cutscene together, it feels like shoot the beam of light, he takes your ghost or whatever. The Witness could just snap his fingers and do pretty much whatever he, she, it, they, whatever they want to do. And then when we get to the end, it's like, okay, draw the triangle, and then you get the little final shape icon, which does, I will say, look cool from the helm. When you check out and go look out, that is a cool view. But I will say it's like when that happens, you're like, okay, so now do we have to wait a year to figure out that? Like, but that was the thing, because you saw the blast doors go up, and then you saw the blast doors go down, and somebody said, you could put those together. It's like, oh god, you could. And there's a joke in Big Bang Theory. They say Raiders of the Lost Ark, the first Indiana Jones, they're like, Indiana Jones has no effect on that movie. They would still, find the ark and open it, and nothing would happen. And it's just like, and you never think about it until somebody points it out, and then they just like break a movie for you. Same thing. It's like, we went down, tried to help with the veil and everything, took the ghost, still did exactly. We had no effect on the entire story. So that's what that moment made me think of. Now, Strand in the campaign, when I played through it the second time, it hit worse. Because you're like, I got it, and then I got it taken away. You do like one little checkpoint, I got it, and I got it taken away. The start and stop and start and stop and start and stop. It was cool to have a cool cooldown, and then when you go through the second time, you're more efficient because you kind of know what to do with everything. It gets taken away that much quicker when you go through the second time. It's like all of a sudden you have it and then it's gone. You're like, I just got it. So Strand post-campaign, Titan is fun. I still don't know if I'm going to be running around quite as much and say like a Grandmaster. I feel like I'll still be pretty squishy. So I will have to try. But I mean, what Suspend can do with the exotic on the Gauntlet, that's fun. Suspend is a blast. Woven Mail definitely has its potency. I was messing around the Warlock for my second playthrough. And this is where, again, where the roaming super hurts me as a Titan a little bit. You can still go whoosh, throw stuff, and then you can duck while all your little threadlings go do stuff. And I've got to be out there in the mix trying to go smack stuff around. And the harder it hits, that's the more pain I get into. And if I'm roaming around on the map and I'm swinging and I'm not in cover, and there's a missile that silently comes out and kills me, that doesn't feel good either. But overall, Strand definitely feels better for a roaming super, way better than Stasis. Now, I will actually tell you guys, I played Stasis for most of the campaign.
What?
Now, the reason I did that, I was telling Travis this because I was helping him with
bow,
him.
Yeah.
The bow, the seasonal bow. And I wanted to synergize with it because I was like, oh, hell yeah, we got a stasis bow and I'm shooting and you get a kill. And then all of a sudden you shoot and you could shatter. And I'm like, okay, now I'm getting multiple kills. And if you shatter, you have like 3 of them charged up again. And I was like, all right, if I'm going to lean into this bow, let me just use stasis. Then I was getting diamond lances, throwing them everywhere. And I was just chucking stuff around. And I was like, that part is fun. And then when I would go to cast my super or my melee, I'm like, oh yeah, this still feels like ass. Like that was, so the bow synergizing with like making diamond lances and breaking crystals, I was like kind of having a decent time there. And then I would go to pull my super out and I'm like, oh, I could smash and shatter all I want as my super and it feels like nothing in comparison. And then even now,
have you used the new the Lance exotic yet on your Titan?
No, I haven't. I picked the.
Okay. I was going to ask you if it was good. I just got it. I haven't used it yet, but I was wondering if you incorporated that into your Titan build there.
Into his build, yeah. I was curious about that.
I was playing around with that for a while. It's cool. Throwing lances is cool. Freezing things from a distance is cool. It doesn't do a ton of damage, but it's good. It's kind of like the same reason Strand is good. It's not like a huge damage thing, but it just jams up the enemy, which is cool.
Yeah, it's crowd control. And honestly, like for the Legend campaign, having a freezing bow, I wasn't doing too bad most of the time because it was a controlled environment a lot of the time. Now, you guys mentioned the loop-de-loop room. That's just tedious because there was a point where I ran out of ammo. And granted, I even had some of the mods on because I went to the Legend loadout before I started the campaign. I went full loadout. So I'm like, all right, mods, resilience, wanted to make orbs. I did everything. So I was in decent shape. That loop room can go to hell. What?
Dissenting opinion.
Do what?
I think I am dissenting opinion. I think I am the only
Like the
person
round room?
I love that mission.
Oh
It
my
is so
God.
I loved it, but like it wasn't hard. I don't know why everyone's saying it was.
It wasn't hard. It
Not
was
even
tedious.
good,
For me,
but,
it was tedious
you know,
because
I
I
thought
couldn't
that
get
was fine.
ammo. Mine was more an ammo thing. So I'm just like looping and looping and looping. When I played with Travis, it was weird. The two of us were playing and there was this glitch that we experienced. We went back to orbit and I think we fixed it. But that glitch when Travis and I were trying to go through, for one, I was the one dying, not him. So I'll throw that one up. I was just like having a bad moment, but he was taking damage and he was nowhere near anybody.
Yeah.
He was literally on the other side of the map.
The
Guys
wall
were
is
around.
super finicky. The wall,
Yeah.
if you're too close to the center, sometimes the wall just does its damage to you. It's like it was pissing us off.
Yeah,
We were just like dying out of nowhere.
Yeah,
I love that mission because I'm gonna be all right. For me, prior to that mission, Strand was not clicking for me. It just wasn't, and the grappling to the ball, and then the momentum, them forcing me to move because of this barrier. Then you had the hobgoblins and stuff like that. I couldn't stay stationary. It presented a challenge as a 2-man team because I was running a 2-man team, and I learned. And the last boss was extremely chunky, health wise. So for whatever reason, and I ain't gonna lie, y'all know how I am with music. I love that music.
The music was actually good. The music was good. I'm not arguing on the music.
Good. Let's go. I'm like, I was training. It was a moment. I was my go up the steps. I
just got done watching Creed 3 last night. That has nothing on that. That montage is not a montage.
Right.
The problem, Cog, is that it's the third time you're doing a training montage, and you just watched yourself doing a cutscene training montage wherein you mastered it, and then all of a sudden it's like, now is the final test. It's like, I remember a time when Destiny used to unlock subclasses through side quests. Remember, you'd be like the second story mission.
The whole Strand
exactly.
Thing
it should have been a side quest. Yes. You should have been the second story mission. And they'd been like, oh well, if you want to open Strand, here's a separate node that'll do a training side quest where you have to do like whatever, and then you unlock it at the end. That's what it should have been. That's what they did in The Taken King. And
what's funny, I know they liked it as much as I like it because they put it as a part of an exotic quest to do it in less than 5
No, it's the time trial. Like the time trial is a thing people are. Now that I will give. Like,
you hate that mission, now do it in 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's like the Titanfall wall run. I was like, that's actually pretty cool because you're seeing people with DMTs knock it out. I saw somebody do it in 52 seconds.
50 seconds. That's insane.
I'm like, they don't
That's
miss.
like how much time it takes me to get to the room. That's crazy.
Yeah, they literally don't miss. It's insane. So like those afternoon editions are cool. But on Travis's point about the campaign, when I played through the second time, because the first time going in trying to take it all in, like looking around the environment and stuff like that, but it was, I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it, kind of Outriders-ish, because it was go to arena, kill ads, go to arena, kill ads, go to arena, kill ads. There was not a lot of variety, it felt like that was more than you're in a different place killing a group of ads. Now, granted, yeah, it's Destiny, you're always shooting stuff in the face, but after Witch Queen, there felt like there was more to it. So when I went through the campaign the second time, now I will say the big giant, I want the last mission before the Callus fight. That should be a horde mode activity or something. The way they have it set up with the tanks, you got to manage the big shots coming at you, ads just constantly coming in. And again, you could probably have a crazier horde mode if we didn't have last gen consoles, weird stuff like that. I'm sure is probably a thing. That's a horde. That is the epitome of like, defend your wall. Here's a horde mode. And they could even like, you could literally even like be building defense turrets up there. Like you could just like, it writes itself almost. And I'm going, that was actually cool. The opening on the ship, that actually had variety. Everything else, as you said, it was like kind of the empty capital of Neomuna with the, Matrix individuals that are kind of
Tormentors helped, though. I think the Tormentors really spiced up a lot of the segments that otherwise would have been pretty boring. I agree with Travis when you get to like the circular arena that's just huge and there's like nothing in it. You're just carrying balls. That's boring. But I thought the close quarters Tormentor fights.
Yeah, at least the first one on the ship. Yeah, the first time I fought on the ship,
those were well done, and I think Tormentors. Well, I would agree. Witch Queen is definitely a better campaign, also in terms of gameplay. But Tormentors are better than Hive.
Travis,
I think so.
Travis,
no,
you don't think Tormentors are better than Hive Guardians?
Let's go.
No, dude, are you kidding me?
Let's
go.
Pushovers. They're such pushovers.
They're not pushovers. If you think they're pushovers, you've never done a Grandmaster Nightfall with
you want to do a Grandmaster Tormentor? Let's see how that goes.
We'll see.
I was like, is there a Tormentor in the new Strike?
That's a good
question. Think there is.
Is there not? I also agree that having one strike is bullshit. That sucks.
It is bullshit. That's the only new content any of the new playlists.
So one new strike in. Of course, I'm enjoying the Vex network. Like that's a cool aesthetic, and that's where actually the map in season 22 is going to be. So that'll be an interesting look. But no, I'm with you guys.
Be a good Crucible map. I feel like that's going to be weird. But
weird. You're gonna wear bluish shaders and you'll blend in. But I think it was the second playthrough was definitely. The second playthrough will probably tell you your real thoughts on it, because the first one's a little more Tormentors the first time. The second time was a little more prepared, kind of knew what to do. And the Tormentor encounter, like the two Tormentors in the smaller room where you kind of got to do your little like zigzag around up and down, like there's a little strategy to get yourself just enough room to get the shots off or change the levels so they got to jump up. And it's kind of like the Lightfall guy jumping up and down when you've watched people do the Grandmaster. Like there's certain ways to do that strategy, but the Tormentors
also
themselves.
Suspend. They're
the boss ones you can't crowd control are like the hard ones. Because once you get suspend, it's like okay, they're just sitting there for 16 seconds doing nothing. So like any enemy is
absolutely So the campaign, it's like when we finally go down in the cave or whatever, and I will say like the walk down to the cave, we are going way down here, and then finally you get down there and then you see the infamous veil, and then you kind of get a little farther down and you're looking. I'm like, all right. I have no idea what the hell this is.
That was a cool part. Going down was like one of my favorite parts of the campaign because I thought I was going to actually find something cool, which I didn't. But that part before that,
that's like leading up to like getting that's like getting up there.
Genuinely, I'm like, oh my god, what's
no? He's right. Like, he's right. I felt anticipation, and then the letdown was even greater amplified.
That's what I was going to say. You're like on your 21st birthday. Oh, what's this awesome birthday present? A pair of socks. Like I was like, it didn't hit. And then now Callus, the first time. I probably died once when I didn't expect something to happen, but it was just kind of running around the room. I've kind of sat there and wondered, I'm like, which one did it? The room was smaller, and I know people have issues with getting like bumped off, which you wouldn't have to deal with Witch Queen. So that was kind of an annoying piece to it. But between the two encounters, I would still say probably Savathun just felt cooler, in my opinion, just because the setting, I think, had a bit more to it. Like one was just a dome. One had the Traveler in the sky, kind of still had the Throne World aesthetic, and then you had the mechanics of you had to go through and kill the couple witches and take care of her. If things weren't active, you could just shoot him. So I've seen people just melt the campaign boss without much of a difficulty or mechanics to it. So I mean, overall, exactly. Oh yeah, Salted Grapple on the second part just sits in a well and had his sister sat in a well and beat it after playing like Destiny for like 30 minutes or something. So I mean, Callus didn't get enough due. The end of the campaign is like, oh, okay, and then our ghost. Obviously, we don't want to shoot the ghost, which makes perfect sense because that's a big deal. But then, of course, I feel like we are so small in scale compared to what the witness just like flicks his wrists, and like Guardians could be just toast. So it feels like we don't have the capability of affecting the story very much, which makes it kind of difficult when we get to the end and we're just like, everything you just did didn't matter. It's almost like watching a movie and they wake up because the entire movie was in the dream. You get to the end of the campaign and everything we did didn't really matter. Now, post-campaign, getting the collective obligation. What is the new exotic?
The collective obligation is from
That's
Val. That's Val.
The
Which
machine
one?
gun? I don't
The
like the
machine
machine
gun.
gun. It's boring.
It's kind of
Oh, but here, that gun is actually a counter to tormentors because they can't kill you with anything. It takes like 75% of their damage away. Like I was using
Oh.
that thing on the
weekend?
2 that charge you in at the final mission. I just brought
Yeah.
the thing out when I was going through on my Warlock, and I
Mm.
was blasting both of them, and then they would like do pound and grab me, and it would take like a tiny piece of my health away.
Really?
I was just like,
Weekend.
wow, these guys suck now. They just can't do any damage to me. It's kind of amazing.
Nice.
yeah, it's like, I mean, actually, and as I think, Paul, you were the one who said it. If that mission with Nimbus would have been in the campaign for the exotic, have you actually face like the death of Rohan, which, by the way, I'm somebody who cries a lot in like movies and stuff, and like it is not hard to get me to cry. Like I'll try in like Avengers Endgame. I kid you not, just like
Left.
it hit. I don't care. So that I am not a hard person to make cry. My emotional like blip of a radar for Rohan was so small. For me, that's not a good thing because it should probably be higher. But he told you
Bro.
in
I
episode
knew
1
from the
it was
trailer
coming.
He would die.
Yeah,
Like that was.
totally.
Yes,
He
So-
said he's like, it's almost my
it's
10
the
years
day
are almost
before
up.
my
I'm like,
retirement. Yeah.
yeah, what you
I
mean?
mean, I think
And he
they also did
literally
on
says, "I'll
purpose. It
see
was
you
a
on the
parody
other
of those
side."
80s movies, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like,
Yeah.
I was like, and that mission was annoying too because of just the whole trying to like go down below, get your
that
little strand, come
room.
back out in the tanks, and it
Yeah.
was just a weird. I didn't enjoy the design a lot of the combat arenas. I think the second time I played through, it was easier because I knew what to do, but the first time figuring it out was like, depending on the average person playing this, like somebody like my brother, I know nothing against him, he just plays certain games, but he would hate some of these campaign encounters. I understand. He would just be like, screw it. I don't care. You're either helping me or it's not happening. I got through them, but it was just more the design I didn't love. And it was just kind of the way it was done. Enemy density felt a little stronger, and I don't mind that. That wasn't as big of a deal, but it just kind of a thing that I've seen going around too. Everybody's primary weapons don't feel so good. So I was using a machine
Yeah.
gun for basically ad clear the entire time.
Yeah.
I've been using a machine gun as primary for like this
Yeah.
whole.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they hit a little harder. Heavy ammo actually is pretty reasonable to drop if you throw the right mods on, and the artifact thing now, especially with a void weapon, I'm just like, I have heavy ammo all over the place, but my primary just doesn't feel that great. So then you kind of switch up your loadouts. You guys said so much. I'm trying to like go around to different pieces as well.
No, I was going to say, someone shout out to Gary the Brown. He said the only time he got in the fields was Osiris, and this was post campaign. Reach for Sagira because I never forgave them when they killed Sagira off screen, and I'm just like, what the hell? And then I had to wait until after to do this side mission. When did they kill?
In the middle of the campaign, it's before Rohan even dies. It's like the second or third mission. It's pretty.
Oh no, you're right. You're absolutely right. I got my order mixed up, but I was just happy that they paid that respect in having him with Sagira like once ever. Like it was just so weird to me. He was introduced that way, and this major character definitely didn't get that. So I felt like also post story. I give it back to you that little things were filled out, just small little things. Not enough to say the narrative, but little small things that I felt like, man, you should have put this in the campaign. Like this stuff would have held weight. But okay,
yeah, and that's kind of one of those things with exotic quests that's weird. That maybe they can't have that be a repeatable thing if you go through the campaign 3 times and you get it. But if you have the moment with, Nimbus, some people have also said, what if Nimbus died, sacrificed himself as opposed to Rohan? That would have been a completely different situation for Rohan. Then you experience him like grieving for the rest of the campaign. Could have been, there are a lot of different ways things could have been
more
handled.
Surprising, at least.
Yeah.
Like, it would have
As
flipped
opposed to-
expectations.
Yeah.
but-
yes,
As opposed to from like literally, I'm 10 years. I'm like, oh, okay, so when do you die? I mean, enough of those moments piled up in the campaign where, of course, just like you guys, it didn't hit. Post-campaign, got to see like Nimbus be a little more real in that mission. Going backwards through Garden of Salvation, I was like, okay, this is actually legit pretty sweet. I enjoyed that section of the mission. Every single quest being go do patrols, open chests, gather resources for damn near every step of most of these quests is a lot post campaign. So my laps on Neomuna have been a lot. But overall, like, the loot's been pretty cool. Winter Spite, as you said, so strong it's gonna get, disabled. Strand has actually been pretty fun. I still think I'm probably going to go into the Raid Void just for more of a safety thing. As a Titan, at least. Kind of feel like I've got to. Couple wells, couple bubbles.
The Strand is pretty indefensible. You're very offense heavy. It's all about
no healing. I mean, there's Woven Mail. I mean, Woven Mail is
Woven Mail is pretty strong.
It is pretty good.
It's pretty strong.
But there's no healing.
Yes, very more offensive than anything.
Yeah. Although, I mean, I find myself, I'm using grapple defensively a good amount of the time. Like, if I need to
get out of the way. I did that actually in the exotic Tuesday, I guess it is now. I did the exotic in that to be like, oh, I'm in trouble, and I jumped across the arena against the final boss fight.
Oh, I don't know how you could ever choose grapple over the suspend grenade, though.
Yeah, the shackle grenade. Yeah,
well, it depends on the class. So, like, I have a full suspend Warlock build. But Titan, there's so much suspension that I was like, I don't even need the grenade because my barrier is up every 2 seconds. So,
especially with the exotic and the triple, I'm like, wave. All right, hang out, everybody. Just
I was like, I have too much suspend ability. Like, I don't even need the grenade. So
the grapple to get out of a bad situation. I mean, that was the exotic quest we just got done running for the Vexcalibur. That last 3-tiered thing. I wanted to ask you guys about that. One, what you thought of the mission, but two, welcome back to Brachion. So I wanted to ask you guys, we got a exotic mission that launched on Tuesday. And because, I mean, it's like we could probably rehash everything, but you guys said so much, I don't need to kill it all. We got the exotic mission on Tuesday, run it around, do a couple of things, and then you go in. Now, it's not timed, but you kind of go through, you got a mini boss fight in the middle, and then there are triumphs for timers, but it's not a timed mission. So, in case you guys are wondering. Cool. But the final
I thought the second boss was the final boss. And
so
I was
did
like, I was shocked. I was like, how is this still going? Because like I was soloing it, and then I'm like, I should not have soloed this. My first try.
I soloed it too. Yeah, when I got to the Brachion part and I realized it was going to be a 3-part fight, I was like, "Oh, kill me.
You're like,
I don't want to do this." Dude.
I wiped the most in the second part because the part where you have to get like 12 motes and like add clear and pick up the motes in like 20 seconds or whatever. I was like, this is so hard just by yourself. That took me a little while to get. Brachion I did first try, but it took like forever.
It's a tedious it's a long, because it's 3 stages. As you're slowly going down, you're like, oh, this is 3 levels in, and you land, you're like, all right.
But I like the way they repurposed Brachion and like did the different mechanics. Although the middle part, I couldn't find the symbols for like 10 minutes. I was just like wondering.
They are not in a great spot. Yeah. So I wanted to ask you guys, what do you guys think of the mission? Just on a general exotic mission ranking kind of situation, because we're going to be running it like 4 more times.
Bungie, I really appreciate it. You did my avatar in Destiny dirty by killing him, but you brought him back, and I'm really I'm really excited he's back. That was a super cool mission. It kind of felt like almost kind of a dungeon. In fact, it made me wonder why the level design was so bad in the campaign, because by comparison, that mission feels like a much better designed campaign mission. You know what I mean? Like it had real mechanics to it and stuff you had to figure out and solve. So, I thought it was pretty good. In general, the 2 things that I think are best post campaign are this mission, which I have a feeling is going to have more parts to it, right? Because it's got multiple versions of the catalyst. I think they're going to make us replay this mission, or
we got to do stuff with the glaive and like go through
walls. Like if you get the first intrinsic upgrade, it's pretty early on. You go through a wall kind of thing. So you'll get some stuff in there.
Yeah. So there's that, and then I've also really liked the what are they called?
Is it partition?
Partition. Thank you. Yeah. I really like the partition.
Oh yeah, those are good.
I haven't done this week's. I know last week's was like Sparrow Racing League. I was like, okay,
it was like Rainbow Road. It was dope.
Yeah.
This one's a lot different.
They're like, can we get SRL, man? I mean, I literally teased, like, bruh, what are we doing?
You can't get Crucible maps. Come on, priorities. People will fire you.
They're not going to build a Sparrow Racing course. They can't build it.
You got Crucible maps, you got Gambit updates, and Sparrow Racing League at the bottom of a barrel somewhere.
Back SRL with like no new Crucible.
Full-fledged SRL with no new Crucible.
Technically, SRL is PvP, so I would
Yes.
count it. I would count
Oh,
it.
you would
Put it
count
on
it?
the Crucible playlist.
I think you'd
I'll
be the
allow
only
it.
one counting that, but
Yeah,
I
probably.
enjoyed it.
If you want to play
I
SRL, you still can. Destiny 1, private
Mm.
matches.
That is true.
Still there.
That's true.
You can do
That
it
is
at any time.
Underground Sparrow Racing League that still
Mhm.
exists for like
Yeah,
playing for pink slips.
that's right.
God.
Yeah,
D1.
living the life a quarter mile at a time. You know we do.
I
no,
will say I want to shout out that lost sector in the arcade
the
one.
Thrillodrome.
Yeah,
That's
I like
very good.
I like the Thrillodrome.
Although I got to the end and there's no floor and I had like a shotgun on and I'm like, oh my god. And I was like 40 under light and I'm like,
and you
this
couldn't
is
get to
a
that
nightmare.
boss.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
So you had to kill him with your primary for like an hour.
It took so long. Yeah, I was like, this was a huge mistake.
I will say, somebody actually mentioned something in chat that made me think of it. During the campaign, and I said this last week, but I think to you guys, I don't know if I ever actually said it on the show. I was so like mad early on in the campaign because how did they describe Strand? We are the first people to ever weave and like pluck at the threads of Strand and reach out to this thing. And then what is like one of the first enemies you face in the campaign? Cabal with a Strand shield. I was like, what are you doing with a Strand shield? Get this off of you. This should not be there. I don't understand it.
I think the way they set up Strand was a mistake. I think it
Yes.
should have been something that the Cloud Striders had that they taught us. I think that would have been a lot better for the story.
Yeah.
I think someone in chat just mentioned like, how does Osiris like? Shouldn't he get Stasis or Strand out? I'm like, I think Osiris does have Strand. It just because he's like
It
playing
looks
with
like it was on his arm
little
at
bit,
one
but, like,
point.
for a
Yeah.
little bit.
that should have been a main focus of the storyline. Is
Yes.
Osiris getting his power back through this new form? But instead, he's just like teaching us to use it as like our trainer, but we never get to see him. He should have shown up in like the final cutscene and like done a bunch of crazy Strand things. And like,
Yes.
I think they wanted to integrate Strand into the campaign more. They said that, but it didn't work in gameplay. It didn't work from a story perspective because the Cloud Striders had never even like heard of it. So it was just this like byproduct of the Veil. And like, it wasn't written into the story in any meaningful capacity other
Mhm.
than it's this thing that can get past these light dampening fields. That was it. That was the only point
Yes.
Yeah.
of Strand, and
Yes.
it can swing you around a circular arena. I think there would have been a much better way to write that into the campaign if they did that. Not that I can do Bungie's job and whatever, but like I think there probably could have been different ways to handle that than what we got there.
And I think that's one of the biggest things that Witch Queen had over Lightfall, and the Lightfall's mostly compared to Beyond Light. It is here's your subclass, and it's like shoved into the campaign in certain places where you have to kind of interact with it, or you got to go to the pyramid ship and it felt like it was even less forced in Beyond Light.
Yes.
It
I
felt
agree.
definitely less forced.
It felt
agree.
so forced to be like, here's use this, no use this. It was that, and then it was
There are 2 full missions that are just Strand training out of
Yes.
8.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
Like,
we don't.
It's a good chunk of some of the other ones.
And then one of
It's-
them's a strike.
Yeah.
So it's like you compare that to Witch Queen, that got to focus on the story. So as Travis said, I was like, you can be mad at him giving him a 5. That's how the review scale works. And if you're saying, hey, this is an amazing game, you're gonna rate it different than him. But if you say this is kind of an okay, disappointing thing on that scale, that's where that lands. So it's like, numbers aside, I think we all agree there are lacking pieces to it. But when it comes to final shape, for one, somebody was like, if you're going to introduce us to a subclass, you better do that in season 23, because if you hamstring it into the final shape and break the story with another subclass,
do that again.
don't do that again.
I don't think
they're going to, because now they have like
Yeah.
they have the diamond that's full, and you just like kind of rotate in and out. So it's like their
And
shape.
Kevin left the team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the main dude who does all this. I mean, obviously it's a big team, but like he was like the driving force behind a lot of these subclasses. So I do wonder if they are going to do like resonance or whatever, the one that people keep guessing at. Like, I don't know. Do we need another
I
one?
don't-
Like, we have so many. I barely even
many.
can keep
It's
up
like-
with the ones we have on 3 characters. Like, I don't know.
Mhm.
I don't know what another one would add, honestly. But
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, for a while I thought they were going to do 3 darkness subclasses and 3 light, but now I'm looking at the current sandbox and saying, well, kinetic kind of is its own
Yeah.
element, and so
yeah,
it's
they're
almost
leaning into kinetic a
kind of
little bit.
embrace
yeah,
that.
we
Yeah.
basically have 3 at the top, 3 in the middle, and then the bottom is power. So I kind of think that they could just leave this unchanged, and it would probably be.
I don't think it would be bad if
Completely
they
fine.
skipped it,
I don't-
honestly.
I don't
And
think-
then
I don't think so
obviously
either.
Post final shape, we don't know what happens, and they might
Mhm.
delete half of them. But
Yeah, so I mean, I think that's where final shape is going to have an advantage over easily anything else where you have a subclass shoved in because you don't have to mess with that. And this one just felt worse. I mean, the speculation that, Final Shape was delayed so you could make room for this makes some sense. The fact that Strand was supposed to be theoretically part of Deep Sight with Witch Queen.
Yeah.
exactly.
Witch Queen, yeah.
The fact, and then it had to get delayed, so
By
it
the
got
way,
pushed out
it-
here.
Yeah.
By the way, it would make so much more sense in terms of flavor because you already had the new deep sight mechanic. It feels very Savathûn to kind of pull at the strings of reality.
Exactly,
Like every part of it was like, all right, this is clearly a Witch Queen power, obviously.
Yeah.
And it didn't make sense in the Neomuna for all the same reasons. It was like, wait, so
That's the one thing that doesn't make sense color-wise.
yeah, why is this power here?
Good point. It wasn't Osteo debuted in Witch Queen, which
Osteo looks like a Strand weapon.
Yeah. It is such a Strand, and it's funny that it synergizes so well when the Grady Grip.
Oh man, I've heard that's crazy.
Oh, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Well, like we ready. We about to break this thing up, man.
So
that build
it's
is nuts.
Bungie will never come out and admit any of this. We know that. It's just kind of like going back and reading a book 10 years later, you might hear about these things, but all of the rumors, when you put the pieces of the puzzle together, make a pretty clear picture as to what happened. They delayed
game development, so it's I can't hold it against them. Like plans change. Like I understand why they're kind of forced into these situations, especially with a live game. Like nobody is doing live stuff like this.
Totally, I 100% agree. It doesn't impact the quality of the game, though.
No,
you know what I mean, you have to remove all that stuff from your consciousness and just say, what is this game? How does this game end up with all that stuff?
I get it. I guess.
Yeah.
I 100%. I empathize 100% with the situation they were in and the decisions they made. I do think pulling Strand out of Witch Queen was probably the right choice. They focused on 3.0 and they nailed that stuff. And so I don't think they did. The only thing I think they actually did wrong is not delaying this game. I think they should have delayed this 6 months, however long they needed. I don't even know if that would have helped some of their problems. I
don't think it would have rewritten the story. So
yeah, possibly not. But
the worst.
But
part,
it does. The whole expansion to me feels quite rushed. And so if they needed more time, if that was their solution, then I think they should have taken it. But yeah.
I'm sorry, just super chats and everything. I've been trying to keep up with them in chat.
We got Gary, a lot of super chats.
Yeah, I was like, Gary has been very generous. I know we had MRI Gamer, we had Necromancer as well. All of you guys, thank you for the super chats. Gary on the recent said Bungie needs to bring back Adam Foshko to fix the story. Oh, he wrote Sleeping Dogs, was Activision's in-house guy at the time. Honestly, when it comes to the writing of I think this is what makes it worse. We had Witch Queen, and then we had Seraph. But dude, we are on narrative fire.
Good point.
And then you turn around and you get this, and you're going, this is like a different studio made part of the game kind of thing that feels so disconnected from Witch Queen. And then we had the seasons that went through, but then you're leading in with like Seraph and Rasputin and the sacrifice and everything. And then this, you're going, how did that happen?
It's tough though, because when you look at it, like they had to create a story out of an expansion that shouldn't exist. So how do you do that? And they didn't nail it, obviously. So like that, but that is a tough writing challenge for sure.
Yes.
To be like, okay, this story didn't need to exist at all, like from baseline. Also, you have to integrate Strand. Like we told them we were going to put it in the campaign, so you have to do that. And go nuts. And that's a tall order. I would say more so than a lot of like seasonal storylines, maybe. But
100%.
I agree. I think it kind of boxed them in narratively with what they could do, and thus we got the product that we have. But to E's point, I think you nailed it. Why my disappointment was so strong narratively, because leading up to this, the season of the Seraph was so well done. I would make the argument it led up to Lightfall better than the season that led up to Witch Queen. And I like that season that led up to Witch Queen. We had, Savathûn, she was cocooned in. Yeah, we knew she was eventually going to bust out, but I like those weekly. You would go talk to her. She would have a little thing. But this was so well done. And then a cinematic leading into it, the sacrifice, Anna Bray. It was really well done. That's why I was like, man, I was so confident. I was like, they are hitting all cylinders. I'm going to get to talk my talk to Trav. I'm going to run. And while I'm playing this mid-campaign, I just see Travis's face on my screen. I
hovering.
told you. I was worried. I told you, Conk. I told you. Nigga.
And the marketing was really good too. So that
Oh, I mean, the
That's the
marketing
thing,
doesn't hit.
I don't agree with that because the marketing is what tipped me off. And Paul, I know you experienced some of the preview stuff I went to, and there were a lot of red flags. There were a lot of red flags.
I remember thinking, I'm like, this is a really weird demo, and this seems really
and they clearly thought that too, which is why Joe Blackburn sent us all that email after the preview and was like, "Hey, we know that Destiny's a little stale. Here's our plan for the future." But it's like it felt like damage control to me. And so the thing to me, right from moment one, where they said, "Hey, this is the penultimate episode of Destiny, and guess what? We're doing a fun little Tron adventure on Neptune, and we're hanging out with surfers." And I was just
the
like,
setting
"This
was
is
odd.
bad."
Yeah, that was. I was like, "Where did this come from?"
Yeah, exactly. It did not feel. It felt like when they delayed, it said that they were adding another year to Destiny, the final shape. They should have just said, "Hey, that's going to be still called Lightfall, and here's this new thing with another name." Because Lightfall does not really make sense at all with the expansion we got. It is a meaningless, completely inaccurate
vacation adventure.
Yeah.
Or a resort town on Neptune.
Yeah, I don't know what you want to call. They should have called it like Shadow of the Veil, or I don't know, something like that.
Yellow Fire. I will say though, even though I wasn't a fan of Nimbus, he's growing on me. I like the development with him understanding Osiris a little better. And those other two, I feel they're doing some little things to kind of try to bridge the gap. And I'm like, all right, I'm getting there. But overall, yes, it does feel abstract, this location, him there. And then the last thing we mentioned was like, there was a lot of characters kind of left on the table for this quote unquote Infinity War. Like, not.
Oh, I know. I saw the cinematic, like the cinematic in the teaser trailer has like Marasov and Elsie and Anna and Ikora. They're all sitting there in the helm. You get a literally flash of light in front of their eyes. And then Osiris is the first time I even went through the campaign, I was like, what the hell is going on with Osiris? I know you said it earlier. It was like, he's being so whiny and annoying, and they just
he was not a good NPC to lead the campaign.
Yes,
especially if they were going to make him act like that.
They do him so dirty.
Had this whole thing where like he got Saint back, he came back from the dead and being possessed, and like if this was like a healing journey kind of thing, and then he gets his power back, but it wasn't really that either. So it didn't take him on the journey that I thought he needed to go on if they were going to make him the lead NPC there.
Once again, we get a reminder of what the curse of Osiris is.
I knew
the curse of Osiris is every time he's the main character in DLC, it's gonna suck.
You know what's funny? This is prophetic, because before we changed to last word and we were flashpoint, what did I tell you with Curse of Osiris? I said the reason why this hurts so bad is because my man is synonymous with the worst content, and I can't stand it.
Well, he's definitely there now too. I will say too,
I will say also in the final in the exotic mission and at the end, which is a good mission, when they're like, oh, the Vex they made their own veil with the Black Heart. And I'm like, do not reference the worst plot device in Destiny history to try and justify this new worst device in Destiny. Like, don't tie it to the
they brought it all back to the Heart of Darkness. And
like that's a retcon. Like I know what they're trying to do with they're trying to retcon the Black Heart to be like a thing, and like sometimes the retcons work. Like what they did with the Exo Stranger and LC Bray, I thought that really worked. But like being like, oh, the Veil prototype was the Black Heart in the guard. Like they didn't plan that shit. Like no, like come on. You're just trying to make relevance out of kind of nothing there, and I don't think that was a good idea.
My God.
Black Garden is probably the most like botched story plot. Every time they try to introduce it, like Shadowkeep, where like you're talking to the darkness and stuff, it seems cool, and then it goes nowhere every single time.
So Paul, I gotta ask you this. I gotta ask you this. Now that they had this small nudge narratively in the story. They didn't move too far. Besides, the witness went through a door. Well, now my question is like, where do you think they're going? Like, where do you anticipate? We got Mara giving us powers in this, was it Season of the Defiance? She's trusting. I thought it was a cool line. She said, I believe in the Guardian because he's not solely light and solely dark because she has trust issues with both sides exclusively. So like, where do you think this is going to get to this final shape? What's your prediction?
One thing I will say about the veil is like the first time I saw it, I was like, that looks like Mara Awoken energy, kind of like the patterns and stuff on it. And she talks about how her power is not from the light or something. So I don't know. I wonder if there is some sort of connection there. In terms of where we're going, like literally, I think we'll find a way to go into the portal, and then I don't know if we will like literally be inside the Traveler, maybe. But I think that has to be the location of the final shape because I don't know where else you'd go. What are you going to do? Like go to Pluto or something? Like nothing really makes sense narratively. Like we saw the Witness go into this portal. Right now we can't follow because of story reasons. But like I think obviously, yeah, like we're going to head into there. One thing I've been thinking about is like, is there going to be like seasonal content after the final shape? Because like you feel like that's going to be a hard conclusion, and like so what do you do with the seasonal storyline from there? I mean, there's so much post final shape we don't know.
I've been saying that for a year now. I don't know how long. I was like, because I was like, season 21, 22, 23 into the final shape, big giant finale for
they're going to do another saga in Destiny. So like, I believe we are heading toward the destruction of the Witness and the Traveler, but retaining the light intrinsically, and then probably retaining the dark.
And the dark.
As much as they love sunsetting things, I don't think they're just gonna like kill all of our subclasses or like just erase a bunch of it is going to continue. And I think Destiny 2 specifically will continue through the rest of this generation with I don't know, another trilogy of expansions doing something else. And then I think we'll do like Destiny 3 or whatever they end up calling it.
So your call for as of right now, you do think a Destiny 3 will eventually happen
I doubt they will call it Destiny 3. I'm guessing they won't because they only called it Destiny 2 because Activision wanted them to.
That is correct.
Like they're gonna they can't just keep subtracting things and jamming things into the game for another 10 years. Like there has to be a reset at some point. Like I think they've done a much better job. Destiny 1 only lasted 3 years or whatever, and they've kept this going for a very long time, and it will continue, I think, past the final shape for another probably 3 years after that. But like once you hit a decade with the same game, the same engine, like there is so much, like even with these engine overhauls and this.
So
and
when
that,
do you think they drop? When do you think they drop PS4, Xbox One?
Oh,
probably
after final shape. I bet they'll keep.
It's like we agree there. I agree with that. Yeah.
The new saga, that's my guess.
I'm still wondering. It's like season 25 or whatever that's going to be. I'm like, that story is just going to be weird because you're like end of Light and Dark saga. Now
it's got to be a transition, I guess, between
that whole year of transition.
Like, I mean, they've literally said pretty much nothing about like we're going new places, but like that. I assume we're leaving our solar system. That's the only thing I can really.
We might find out this year because their typical cadence has been that they start talking about the stuff that's coming up to a year before or 6 months before the new DLC
Gamescom or E3.
I would be surprised
they announced
the final
triple
shape
expansions way back in the day.
Yeah, if the final shape comes out and we have no idea what the next year is going to be, that would signal to me that they're going to take a year off, which might mean, which I don't think they'll do because it's a live service game. Otherwise they would have taken this year off because they clearly needed it. But I think they can't take a year off, so I think we're going to start hearing about something, maybe a name or some idea about what.
Well, they're also going to start. They're going to launch one of their other games.
Have to at some point.
So that is.
I thought we were going to hear about that last year because they hired marketing people for that game, and I was like, well, there's no way they would hire.
Did they say? I thought it was 2025. They said they'd have a new game out.
That's what it sounds. That sounds right from what I heard, but
I don't know. Like there was the big leak about Marathon as an extraction shooter, but like there's a couple in development, so we don't know exactly what is going to actually come out. But I know it's going to be heavily PvP focused, if not exclusively PvP focused. So like it's not to say that they might not make another Destiny game in this could be a spin-off of Destiny in theory if it's one of the non-Marathon things, but that is something that's going to be happening at the same time, and as they become like a multi-game studio, which is what Sony purchased.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just trying to catch back up because I keep listening to my dog in the other room. Sorry, slightly distracted. So,
and I wanted to. I don't know if we was ready to transition, but I did want to ask everybody about this raid. Unless you're gonna go through the 12 first. So I did want to
12
talk.
doesn't have much. It
Raid,
basically just tells you what's disabled for the raid, some bugs that are in there, and
No. The TWAB has something. Something very weird with the section about. I don't have it up right now, but like the section about how the Lightfall story will continue with a new mission in Season of the Deep.
Yes,
that is free for Lightfall owners.
Yes, and we
that
get
is exploring
different
the mysteries
aspects
of the Veil. And they're giving us this missing hand cannon from all the marketing materials. That is not an exotic; it's a legendary. People thought it was
AKA
the
stuff they didn't finish because they ran out of time that they're going to give us later.
Pretty much,
right? But this feels like cut content. But like, I can't tell what like is this mission just going to be like walking around Neomuna and like getting voiceovers from Osiris, or like is it a legit mission?
I think it's a legit mission. I think something got cut, and I think that they're going to start to try to not retcon, but retroactively kind of justify the failings of the story by filling in like, oh,
the Veil,
the Veil is.
That was my.
And
here's
where the
is
witness
this a reaction directly to like what the F is the Veil like? But like that would be a very fast turnaround.
I think they probably cut it and had no plan on adding it, but then when they saw the reaction, they were like, maybe we will finish that and because they have to address like in the next year, where did the witness go? What actually happened with the traveler? What is the Veil? How did our ghosts get taken over? Like there's a lot of stuff that I feel like they owe it to us to explain, and more importantly, they have to explain it before the final shape comes out because they can't spend the final shape explaining it. You know what I mean? They can't have another Strand.
I mean, the Veil stuff I think will be resolved.
Yeah, 100%.
This is the thing. Like we know what the Veil is kind of. Like if you just logic it out, like it was something that was protecting the traveler from the witness. Like
or it was
I
part
guess
of
we
the
can
traveler,
get a more
apparently.
Yeah, it's literally a MacGuffin. Like I guess we can get into more detail about it and the exact nature of it and how it creates Strand and stuff. But like fundamentally, like we at least know what its purpose is, like kind of like
no, we don't know its purpose.
Stuff.
We might know its origin, right? Because I think there's something in the lore buried deep that's like, oh, the traveler lost a piece of itself, and you can kind of.
Do we? I didn't hear that.
I haven't gotten into the lore yet.
It's apparently part of the lore that it might be part of the traveler or whatever. But either way, we don't know why the witness needed it. We don't know. Neomunians seem to protect it and use it for all of their life. Their power source, but they also don't know what it is. Yeah, like there's just so much about it.
It was very confusing. During the campaign, they act like they know what it is, and they Osiris. And then you get to the end, they're like, well, we got to study the mysteries of the Veil. It's like, I thought you knew what the Veil was. Just
why have you been protecting it all these years? And you're using it to power all of your city and the lives of people who are inside a virtual world, but you don't know what it is or how it works. Like, that seems insane to me. It's crazy.
It's something with the Ishtar Collective.
Yeah,
and
collective.
I don't know, but
my theory is the Ishtar Collective found a piece of the Traveler and they turned it into a supercomputer power source MacGuffin bullshit. That's my theory.
I mean, like, do we need a more complicated explanation than that? Probably not.
You look up Veil in the glossary, and there's Travis's definition: supercomputer matrix bullshit.
The thing too is, I would.
I love Scarrow's comment, by the way. That is true. That is true. They straight up say in the campaign, if the witness establishes a link with the Veil, life on Neomuna is over, and then literally nothing happens. That is true. It's in the campaign.
Well, and then at one point he was like, "Oh, they're trying to destroy the Veil, and like we have to protect the Veil." And then he was, but he was never trying to destroy the Veil. He was trying to like link it with the mass, and then he linked with our ghost, and like they changed during the campaign. Like,
what the Infinity Gems do? What's going on here? I want to know what.
Here's the thing, Cog. I think you're being too kind when you make that assumption. This is more like if Thanos was starting to collect the Infinity Gems for Infinity War, and then they took a hard left turn and were like, "We're going to show you Thor: Love and Thunder." You know what I mean? Like it's just a side quest that has nothing to do with the main. That's the big problem because the good news is
the Thor: Love and Thunder.
It is Thor: Love and Thunder.
Because I kind of think that the good news is they didn't screw up anything with the final shape, and I think they almost wanted to keep the story so separate from each other so as to kind of save all the big reveals for final shape. I think they did that too much. They didn't give us really anything, and more importantly, they didn't create a compelling self-contained story for this expansion, which I think is the real original sin.
No, I agree. The emotional parts didn't. We already beat up the story again, but I wanted to. The stuff on the table that I'm very curious to when they introduce where the hell is Xivu Arath in all of this? We just completely forgot about Xivu.
I
here's
think
Xivu's
so
going to be a
here's
seasonal boss, I think.
exactly. That's exactly right.
Which is
I think
bad.
That doesn't
Xivu
feel right either. Yeah.
That doesn't feel
Xivu
right.
There's no more
is
time. We're
always
running out of time.
Yeah.
Xivu's always been part of the EU. Let's be honest. He's always been an EU character, as was Callus, and Callus should have stayed an EU character.
I was like,
that was their problem, is that they made him a main character.
Extended universe.
You never
I had
do
to
that.
reach. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You leave Ahsoka Tano in the EU. She's on Disney Plus, all right? Not on the big screen. These are the rules. These are the rules.
I agree.
Are you implying that they are not a main vein MCU movie character?
I'm saying Xivu
They
Arath.
are relegated to the Disney Plus.
Yes.
Oh, that's what we said?
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying Xivu Arath, super cool, love her as a character, stay in the EU. That's all I'm saying.
Damn.
Okay?
I mean, I will
And so
say,
here-
like next
I
season,
think we'll kill her in a dungeon. Seasonal
Probably.
dungeon. That's my theory.
Yeah.
You're probably right.
That could actually make sense.
That
I mean,
makes sense.
dungeon
Yeah,
boss, and it's season of the deep. Like that, if deep is not related to Hive and the history of the Hive planet and the
No,
Proto Hive and all
it's
that
on
stuff,
Titan. We know it's on Titan. The Leviathan worm thing in the water. This
Yeah.
is all in the lore after the
Yeah.
campaign.
That's
well,
the
I
theory.
think they're-
EU character.
Season of the Deep, they're going to bring back Titan, but I think it's going to be like derelict Titan, like
Oh, yeah.
like what they did with the Leviathan, and then
Yeah.
it'll be sunset at the end of the year. So I think that's exactly what they're doing. But
Yeah.
that's gonna
I
feel.
hope it stays. I hope
That's
it
gonna
stays.
feel rushed
there's
for her,
nothing wrong
though.
with being there's nothing wrong with being an EU character, right? It's my favorite Star Wars character is an EU character as well. All right.
When you're saying EU character, do you mean like she shouldn't show up like in person? Like that
In
is-
main expansions. correct.
This is
In main
disrespectful.
expansions. Nowhere.
Don't let us
See,
get
that
away
doesn't-
with
that
this.
doesn't
You're not ready
feel-
for the
It
limelight.
would have to be
That
after
doesn't
the final
feel
stream.
right though, because we've had Hive
Thank
God in
you.
an expansion, Witch Queen was an expansion, and then Xivu Arath is going to get a dungeon. That
Okay,
feels...
but all of Xivu Arath's content are seasonal. All of
True.
it.
I mean, you're
True.
not
Well,
wrong.
You're right. though. You're
It's
not
an EU
wrong.
character.
They treat it like Disney Plus. There's no doubt. The thing that's pissing me off.
Stay there.
is
Know your place.
You're like
What
Disney.
pisses me off is they start the Witch Queen beautifully with the Ebontis style cutscene where they show all three, right? And they tell you about Oryx and this and the sister, and you see her right there, plain as day. And I'm just like, okay, they're gonna set it up for future expansion. And to your point, she's being mishandled. And the other thing I'm a little worried. I shouldn't say I'm worried. I hope we get the correct Savathun payoff because we all know she ain't dead.
We will.
Yeah.
We
And
will.
I need a moment, whether it be high stakes. The witness is about to do is looking bad, and Savathun, the most unwilling. I mean, the person that you don't see coming, comes through to in fight of the
Right.
the
I
travel
here's
or
the-
whatever.
Here's the
Season before
spin
Final
metal
Stream
hat.
is what
Yeah.
Spin metal
Yeah.
hat. We've got Cabal on our side. We've got
Mhm.
Fallen on our side. I think
Ooh,
that
should be
my
good.
my old curmudgeon-y boy who's
Mhm.
trapped in the Vex network is our path to having a Vex faction of allies, right? That's
The
my
Okay.
Vex
theory
are
there.
so boring though. Like,
The
this
Vex are
expansion, I think,
boring,
proved that they
but-
can't
but
do
if-
anything interesting with the Vex.
But if the Vex
Combat
all
is
have the
fun, but, like-
personality of Awoken
single
Bernie
person.
Sanders,
Yeah.
it's going to be cool. All right, an entire army of Awoken Bernie Sanders Vex. All right, that's my theory. If we get what?
No, you did not.
Wait,
cook.
Okay, and then
back it up.
we've got the Hive, and my theory is that Savathun and the
Oh, she's the
Lightning Hive
representative.
are
I
our
got it.
path to that. And then I think
it's good
that
guesses.
if the Darkness and Light saga ends, you can still have the Hive as a main faction of enemies, and you can have the last general of war there to if you don't kill her in a dungeon, which I kind of think they will, but if you don't, you have her there. You have the Fallen as a remaining enemy type because not all of them converted, right? They're not all the
Right.
House of Light. You
Aramis
still
has
have
survived like
Aramis
4
is out
deaths.
there. Yeah.
right. You
God.
still have the path of Cabal. There's always other factions and other military leaders,
Mhm.
and the Vex aren't going to be 100% converted by Ashramir. So you get to have them all as enemies and all as allies because they're not going to throw away any factions of mobs. There's
No.
way too much coding and resources.
They need
Yeah.
You're still going to be fighting all these guys, but I think they
add a new enemy race.
yes,
Yeah.
but I think they have to get them all on our side so that we can have the great
Yeah, I
look
agree.
at us. We're
That
all
is the
unified.
Unified. Yeah, that makes sense.
The portal moment where the
Yeah,
Yes.
that's the end.
Exactly.
Yeah,
We need
yeah,
the
yeah.
Avengers
Yeah.
assemble. Avengers assemble.
Go to the
Yeah.
left. I'm telling you, she got to come through on the left.
Yeah. So that's I think that they're setting themselves up for a really bright future, but that future keeps not coming. and that's what bothers me about Lightfall. The Witch Queen, I felt like we finally did it. It's here. Destiny's damn good, and this just feels
should
like
have been Empire Strikes Back.
regressed.
Like this should have been the darkest thing, and it just it wasn't.
Also, Scarrow was wrong. We didn't lose big.
Well, technically we did, but it just didn't hit hard. Because
Did we
technically,
lose big?
No, I mean
Bro,
the
when you go
Traveler
back
is
to the
supposed to
tower-
be dead. Like unless you blow up the Traveler, I don't believe the Traveler is dead.
Correct.
Yeah.
You gotta
I don't think
physically
we lost big. Nothing has changed.
No.
Or Sarkar. All he did was open a door. So
True, but the
Scarrows
not
in
losing
chat.
big.
Scarrows in
Scarrow,
chat. We did,
you can
bro.
say lost.
I got
I would
to
not say we lost
we
big.
did not
We
lose.
didn't lose big, but
We got
they
Strand. We're
according.
even more powerful now.
True.
Yeah, we're even more powerful. Thank you,
You're
Paul.
you guys are absolutely. But remember, after the witness walks through the door, to Scarrow's point, when you go back to the tower, according to Zavala, with his non-emoting face, yeah, we really lost.
Oh my
We
God.
lost big. I don't know what we're gonna do. Meanwhile, here's these bounties.
Look.
Anything going on?
Yeah, no, you can't just say we lost big, in a post-credit scene and then that's losing big. We did not lose big. Like, just look around you.
He
We're
said
still
it,
in the
though.
tower. We're still fighting off the Cabal
Red
on Earth.
War we lost bigger than
Exactly.
for sure. Yeah.
Exactly. The Red War should have been called Lightfall.
Yeah,
I mean,
technically.
yeah.
Light actually fell way more. And
that actually makes sense.
have you ever seen that Star Wars meme where every episode of Star Wars is named wrong? And I've seen that one. This is like every single expansion in Destiny feels like it's named wrong to me. It's starting to feel like that. Actually, it's kind of insane.
I mean, the Witch Queen
anyway.
fits.
You're wrong, Scare.
The Witch Queen is hard to do a different name there.
True.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
Yeah.
That one's pretty on point.
Oh, I'm just enjoying.
This could have been called Beyond Light because it's Strand.
Yeah. Yo.
I guess that was for Stasis.
Yo, they
too,
got the names wrong. You're right.
You got the names wrong. I'm
Red War
telling
is
you.
Lightfall,
There's other
is
examples.
Lightfall, yeah.
There's
And
other
this-
examples. I can't remember some of them, but
You
yeah,
got Shadowkeep.
Yeah, it can stay.
Shadowkeep, yeah. Shadowkeep. Well,
The curse
Yeah,
of
yeah,
the
yeah.
curse of Osiris is perfect though.
Curse of
Shadowkeep
Osiris
is
could
my
be
least
any of
favorite
them.
expansion ever, so I have no.
Too soon, E. That's too soon.
This expansion, Lightfall, should have been called Curse of Osiris. That would have made way more sense.
I
If
can't
they
even fight back.
rewrote
That
it
man is
better
part of
to
the
be
worst
more-
stuff.
Yeah.
I can't even fight. It sucks.
I wanted to ask you guys. I don't know if you're going to be doing the raid, when you're going to be doing the raid. I know Travis has got to try and do it for the review. Were you guys out on like loadouts and weapons and exotics, and just where is anything holding on? Like, do you still love your Volt Shot Ikelos SMG? Have you like gripped something new? What are you guys running around with and shooting with? Gotta ask. What are the guns?
Tassi. I need the Tassi builds. Come on,
Okay.
let's go.
So yeah, I was doing triple Strand like forever, pretty much using all the Strand exotics. I switched from Mass Threadlings on Warlock to the Osteostrika Suspend build because it's just it's nuts.
It's nasty.
Although I am getting a little tired of using Osteostrika so much. It's
I
just
know it
like
gets
It's
boring.
all I
strong.
use.
Yeah.
Titan, I have the permanent suspend build. I'm usually using like Quicksilver Storm just because it's a Strand
Ooh.
weapon, even
It's
though
great.
Oh,
It
it
is
needs to
super
be
underrated
fixed,
right
though.
now.
And it's nerfed right
still
now. It's
pretty
like
good.
it's
Still
full
pretty good.
power.
but like you can't use legendary primaries, like not in Lightfall content. They feel terrible.
Yeah.
And so like I have a couple of the Strand machine guns from Terminal Overload that I've been using as my heavy for most slots. And then Hunter, I have double grapple with the Woven Mail helmet for just like damage reduction. Grapple is up all the time because I fully spec'd into it. Feels very fun, super fun. I'm starting to go back now, and so I just made a Stasis Warlock build with the new gloves.
Nice.
Shockingly good damage.
How are they? Because I was scared to get them. That's the one. Is it with the
they're
super?
very good. It
What
buffs,
happens?
so it buffs shatter damage.
Mhm.
So like super does actual damage now. I'm like chunking Terminal Overload bosses at least with that.
Wow.
And I think it's broken where it buffs all weapon damage of your allies now. It's supposed to buff stasis damage, but I think it buffs everything.
And it gives them an
and
overshield too, right?
So I don't know if it's better than double turrets. Like it might not be, in like for GMs and whatever you
Yeah.
want your double turrets, but like it's very fun. And I'm leveling up I'm getting catalyst kills for the bow. I'll try a Titan builds with Stasis with the new helmet that I just got there too. With the lances and stuff, but Hunter, I'll probably stay on Strand because I the other exotic is like a PvP exotic, so it's not really anything to build around per se. It's like better Dragon Shadow kind of. So I am mostly on Strand, but I'm starting to go and try to do a few Stasis things now.
So you jumping in the raid with Strand?
Oh no, I'm not doing the raid.
He's a dad, dude. He's got to do the raid.
He's gotta travel anyway.
I cover the race is what I do. It's like I'll live tweet it, I'll write an article about who wins. Like I had a viewing party with my buddy last year. For VOW. I'm not a day one raider. Like,
you gonna let the savages go in there.
I'll do it next week probably, but yeah. And then I'm heading out of town Saturday morning anyway, so I really only have tomorrow to watch. And yeah.
I will be there. I'm gonna just do the opposite of Paul. I'm gonna say I'm sweaty. I'm dripping in sweat, absolutely soaking. The couch is unusable. Yeah, I
that went way too far.
It was really bad. It was really bad. I regret it. Okay. Yeah, my favorite part of a new raid is the surprise. I can't get on board watching it. If I wanted to watch it, I would have picked TV shows as a hobby, right? So to me, it's about experiencing it and figuring out the mechanics yourself and like just going in 100% blind. I also feel like it makes my experience a little bit more pure as a reviewer because I'm not, learning the strats from YouTube. I'm kind of going through the process of like putting things together and how fun is that experience. And so I still have to work on Friday. I have to like post the Xur video and do other stuff. But my goal is once I have an IGN first thing I'm working on, there's a lot of time going into that. But once I'm done with that, I'm hoping to get like a later start on Friday and just going blind. I'm not going to be looking at anything online. I hope to see how far I can get. There's a pretty decent chance I won't be able to beat it by the end of Saturday. And so then my backup plan is I have a Sunday group that I'm going to play with on Sunday. As I plan the fail state because if I don't beat it on Friday or Saturday because it just skill issue, I suck at Destiny. I'm gonna
with
have
the difficulty changes. I'm very curious how this is going to go. Like I know it's contest is whatever now, but I am curious how this is going to feel.
Yeah, I'm very curious too. If it's going to be as hard as a Nightfall was earlier, I'm probably in trouble. And if it is, I probably will.
That Mars one sounds awful. I've read about that thing.
I'll probably, if that happens, I'll log off probably early Friday night, and then I'll just hop on Sunday. You know what I mean? Like I'm not going to sweat it for 48 hours. My goal is give it the good old college try. If I don't, and then I'll go in blind on Sunday with my we don't want to sweat group. That's sort of the group there. So yeah,
you guys
will plan.
Oh no, go ahead.
I'll have my final review fully written by Sunday night.
You're 9.5.
Yeah, now it goes up to a 9, definitely.
9.5 out of 10 because the raid was so good. It just made up for the numerous short
to a 9 right in front of it and made that a 0.5, and you good, brother. You good.
I was gonna say, I know typically we've been busy, but if you want to know how hard the heist battleground Mars is, you can usually kind of use Esoteric's solo video as a gauge. It went up 12 hours ago.
Oh, he did do it.
He did it on Master solo. I don't even understand how the hell that's possible, but
I gotta watch that.
Human. He's not human. I'm convinced that is.
But normally that stuff is like
they don't stop spawning.
Like first day of the week.
Yeah.
Also,
I'm very curious about that.
Is anybody else annoyed by how many encounters in this expansion have infinitely spawning enemies? That kind of bothers me.
Not like
that.
Yeah.
Like
sometimes it's okay. Like in the exotic mission when like a couple of harpies keep spawning just to like keep you on your toes, but like
that's true.
When it's like an entire room full of enemies, it just
it felt like when I was in the circle room, that encounter takes quite a while. And the fact that they just keep spawning, there's no way to clear and then focus on DPS. You just have to keep clearing. I felt like I went like
things keep spawning forever.
I felt like I went like a full 5 minutes without doing any damage to the boss. So I was like, this is never going to end unless I actually start shooting at the boss. Like,
yeah, absolutely. I think for me, like Tassi said, I'm coming probably Strand just to see how it comes in there with the with Osteo. I'll probably with Kolgarath. People say with Incandescent right now it's crazy with Necrotic, so I might do that build just to blow stuff up, crowd control. Plus, Glaives low key are great defensively, just to kind of get you out of a pickle. I think people kind of sleep on that. I'm looking at your retro
Escapade, the machine gun.
Only because the volatile aspect. I got a
Well,
void
you got
build.
volatile, make a void weapon making heavy. Like I can tell you in the raid, there's got to be
Yes.
multiple people running void just to make heavy weapons for people
Yes.
out.
Yeah.
So you're not trying to just like
that artifact perk is crazy. There's so much
Crazy
heavy.
good. Yes, so much heavy.
Yeah.
And then as a warlock, I know at some point I'm gonna have to use well, so I'll probably go with my I know Starfire Protocol, Fire Sprite build. Those new aspects are really good. The Fire Sprite.
I haven't tried them yet.
Oh, they're ridiculous. The grenades can heal you, restoration, busted stuff you could do. And then there's an artifact mod that when you use your super, you buff the weapon damage of anyone who's using an opposite subclass. Yep. So I think as a warlock, using that for DPS phases.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, like I figured, I have some Void Titans with me, some stuff like that. So yeah, I'm gonna try it out. In my mind, there's no way this is not Nezarec. Like this is a self-contained.
They really spell it out for you. Like I don't even think that's a spoiler at this point.
Nope.
It's the name of the encounter. You can see the emblem in the game. Like it's
Oh yeah, I was like, you can literally see. So yeah, fair warning for anybody for tomorrow. But yeah, the emblem is out there in collections.
Yep, yeah, it has.
And you can see the name of the encounters.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
But do you want me to tell you what the last encounter name is?
Nezarec.
It's Nezarec.
I'm like, Strike was setting up Nezarec, and he's talking to us in every event.
I would say that was interesting because technically you can use the weapon, you can use a couple different ways, and you can hear the fact that there's a completely different voice dialogue that you could miss otherwise before you dig in.
Yeah,
that was a really, really cool Easter egg. I like the fact that they did that. So,
me too.
And again, the art aesthetic for this thing, the raid, just the picture. I've been staring at that thing. I'm like, what weird space alien vegetation grow? I don't know what the hell we're gonna be.
I think it's gonna be Black Garden mixed with pyramid architecture. Is my guess. Is they're gonna?
I would like to see them go completely off, but we'll see.
Real quick, I know we ain't got any lords in here, but I'm just curious. Like, didn't we kill him, chop him up, and drink him for tea?
But
but we resummoned him when we did the ritual, or Mithrax did, to serve him tea. Like we didn't. Osiris didn't consume all of him. It was just like some darkness essence thing. But we essentially unleashed Nezarec with the events of that season.
But correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't he the witness, the disciple before Roke?
I thought he betrayed. I'm pretty sure he betrayed the witness. I thought that was the story behind him. Not to say that he can't try and kill us too, but like
So Nezarec, first of all, Nezarec can't die. That's part of the lore. And there's a what do you call it? Like a prophecy. Ha! Okay. Got it. All right. There's a prophecy that Nezarec will live again. He has, like, in the lore, he's had like the South will rise again like thing forever. You know what I mean? So like this is basically, they set this up a long time ago for him to come back, and the fact that his body was scattered out throughout the world, I think, was supposed to be them saying he'll return eventually somewhere. Like his Horcruxes are out there.
I think I'm most curious about what he's going to look like, because I think they're going to do what they did again with Roke, where Roke was an entirely new model.
Unique.
Completely new. And like we've seen him in the cutscene sort of, but like I think they're going to do something brand new.
Hey, he's in a cutscene photo.
The one where he like shows him in his grave.
When he's like,
you can barely see him, but like
Okay.
Yeah, I do expect.
So he is an original model going off of that. But
I would imagine so.
I suspect he'll be wizard like.
Yeah, shouldn't Osiris get me the inside track since we got the juice?
I mean, you would think
if they possess Osiris again with Nezarec, I was like, "There's no way they're gonna do."
And it can't be like Osiris can't come back.
I still hate the T thing. I thought that was really
me too.
Yeah, that was weird.
That was one of the worst.
It's also weird that they don't discuss at all the implications of doing that. So
yeah, there's no giant
worry. They actually do. If you have the collectors, out of game. If you have the collector's edition, it's in the lore.
Don't ever say that. If you have the collector's edition, you get the lore of the super important plot point. Dude, Season of Plunder, most people didn't even know the plunder we were correcting was Nezarec's corpse. That's literally what we're collecting. It's pieces of his body. It's like unbelievable how poorly they telegraphed that. And I feel like there should have been some conversations. They could have even done like the weekly radio messages where they're like, "Are you guys sure though? Like Nezarek's body, we're gonna bring all the pieces together. The South will rise
you could
again."
interact with them on in the helm, and it would like Ido would say they kept building up like something was going to happen to Ido, and then just nothing. Nothing. She was not involved.
She wasn't even in the. I didn't even see her.
She'll be back
She's an EU character. Because she's an EU character.
She is definitely relegated to the
I'm
feasible.
Hey,
that is wild.
look, Admiral Thrawn is one of my favorite.
I wonder.
Osiris did a whole bunch of lore theoretically about. So the one thing I got from Bife was saying Scions before they had this like, it was something in their dreams basically because they're all about psionic like energy and stuff like that. And depending on how whoever has faced like the different disciples before, you had Nezarec go under different names, and theoretically the Scions were basically very susceptible to Nezarec because he was actually messing with their dreams and everything like that. That's the brief idea.
Because they have mind control.
If he's a really big Scion, I'm gonna be mad though.
Yeah, I'll be mad at that.
No, I'm hoping for a unique model. I was gonna ask you guys, what race do you think we're gonna be fighting though? In the actual raid,
I think mostly Shadow Legion.
You think Cabal's still in the raid?
Maybe, I think so. Because there's going to be Tormentors in the raid for sure. We haven't had a Cabal raid since Leviathan, like forever ago.
Guess that has been a while.
I think it could be a mix of like there could be some Taken and Scorn in there because it's darkness stuff and whatever. But I think it'll be a Cabal raid personally.
It has been a while. That's fair. Like because it has been Leviathan timing.
I think. Well, he's membered the darkness, so it really could be.
Who else would it be? I can't see the Vex being in the pyramid ship for that.
I'm gonna say
Hive. Be like Fallen or Hive, I don't think. But
I'm gonna say Hive.
You say Hive?
No,
he's just trying to be contrarian to be.
I'm trying to be contrarian.
That's all he's doing. That's all he's doing.
I'm gonna say the Veil, the new race of the Veil.
They dropped the new race in the raid.
New race just dropped. Who dis?
That would totally redeem everything.
Scorn would be a good idea. To Scare's point, although that would suck for the glitches.
Didn't we just do?
We just had a Scorn raid in Val.
That was fun.
Actually, I'm gonna change my guess. My guess is Vex because we know that Nezarec is interacting with the Vex network right now, and they've set.
I could see Cabal and Vex combined,
and they've set the Vex up as kind of the secondary enemy in this game. And so since we fought the Cabal mostly in the campaign, I think the raid's going to be Vex, and the Nezarec will have
a big chunk of this is not in the Vex network because I feel like we've already have a ton of Vex network stuff, but I don't know.
No, because the image didn't look like it.
No,
the
it
image looks totally weird.
I mean, it could jump in and out of different. You could be in the pyramid. You could.
I think it'll be a pyramid.
Oh, do you think
I think all raids are pyramids from now on, and all the pyramids are going to be different, have different environments.
That's the thing. Is like how much will they stay in the pyramid if they just did a pyramid raid?
I think you've got a good idea of jumping. Like if they do any team separation type stuff, or one person's got to go do things, you jump into the
stuff. Honestly,
well, you could jump into the Vex network if there's something related to like splitting up your team. You could definitely get Vex incorporated that way, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. It's good. It's a mystery. I mean, like there's a lot of possibilities. So I even if we know the final boss, I think it's still a lot of stuff we don't know.
Vex and Cabal working together would be a sweet new dynamic we haven't seen, and it would make sense in Nezarec's lore because we have Nezarec's worshipped by Scions, and he's plugged himself into the Vex network, and we know we're going to get Tormentors on top of that.
I could see like a Cabal intro for like the first third or half of the raid, and then it switches to Vex, maybe like based on like Shadow Legion is defending the pyramid and whatever, and then we go jump into full Vex stuff maybe. But
this is as everyone has guessed, this is the one thing that I think could change my review because right now I'm pretty much stuck where I was a week ago.
I can't believe you're stuck at a 5 with everything else. That's crazy.
Mediocre. It's mediocre.
Get him, Tassi.
I'm going to talk to Dan about changing the
Would you? Dan probably loves me for this because he's.
Oh no, I know he does.
Yeah.
But I did an IGN review or two back in the day. I know.
Oh, you did?
I didn't know that. Some Mech Warrior game. Like I don't. Very minor.
I gotta see that off the page.
I gotta
check that off the page. Send that link.
So. My reasoning is still the same. I think it's a mediocre expansion, and I follow the IGN style guide for better or worse. Paul, you can disagree with the optics of that. I
rank it below Witch Queen and Forsaken. I rank it above Beyond Light, I think,
Yeah.
and it's certainly above Shadowkeep. Like,
Yes, that's what I have.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I
actually,
hate Shadowkeep so much.
you can see my full rankings of all of the Destiny.
Oh, you've
expansions
ranked them.
on
I should write.
IGN.
I should
you
write a
ranked them?
ranking list.
Yes,
I think did I do that
it's-
yet? I don't know.
So it's not an article; they're called playlists on IGN, and my playlist
Oh.
is actually listed on on the Destiny review. So if you go to the Lightfall review, you can click on it, and I have my rankings there. And I think I rank Lightfall the third lowest.
Okay.
I think Curse
I
of
think
Osiris
third
is
highest
lowest.
and third lowest
Right.
are the same.
Yeah.
If there's
So
five.
it's that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably not wrong there.
It's Curse of Osiris is the lowest. Then
Oh,
Shadowkeep,
you're counting
and then
that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, 'cause
Okay.
they're
I didn't
listed
count the
as the
DLCs. Yeah, I mean, Christmas Ice is obviously.
And we
the
don't have to count the DLCs. We don't have to count. Question E. I didn't get your ranking so far.
Oh, I'm pretty much right where you guys are. I mean, it's Forsaken and Witch Queen and Forsaken.
Mhm.
It's probably in the number 3 realm.
You put Witch
I-
Queen above Forsaken?
It's always so tough.
I do.
I
but-
do. Which
Well,
Queen's number one?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
so. Yeah.
Well,
I would
okay.
say-
So how are you doing it? I'm doing it like the campaign for sure. As like the game as a whole, I don't know. Forsaken may have been a better era in that
Hmm.
time
Ooh,
period.
you
I
can
mean,
make
if you're
an
going to go
argument
into
for
like
that.
seasons versus all this stuff, like this one, technically, it's like if you buy Lightfall by itself, you technically get season 20. If you bought Witch Queen, you got season 16. So, I mean, some of that stuff
Yeah.
is like, as a new player, like as a
Also,
player of
can
a
I
package.
address something that I keep seeing in chat?
Let's go.
Which, no offense to people saying this, but I do not understand this idea that I paid $100 for Lightfall. That was too much for Lightfall. How are you saying you paid $100? Like, I don't understand this idea that Lightfall costs $100. Like, the $100 pays for 4 seasons of content, and I think that's the 2 dungeons too.
Yep.
Like, I don't. You can say a lot of things, and like you could say Lightfall's bad and stuff, but like, the model at this point. Like, that there is like 80% of the year still to come with all this content. So like, I don't
Yeah.
think criticizing is like Lightfall is too expensive at $100 is like
Yep.
really a fair criticism given how the game works.
Also, from a review perspective, you never want to take money into account because there are games that are
Yes.
free that are amazing, and there are games that cost a lot that are bad. So price clearly has no impact on whether the game is good or not. And also, money means different things to different people. If you're a 16-year-old, making minimum wage at McDonald's, then your decision to buy an expansion could be huge compared to somebody who owns a yacht and doesn't really care what the price is. So it's just such a unnecessary subjective.
That's my least
thing
favorite
to
question
put
is
in there.
is the game worth X
Yes, I
dollars?
really
Like,
don't. That
but
really
in
is
this case, it even makes sense because it's not Lightfall for $100. And like,
a much better question is it worth your time?
yes,
Right. And
that is
I
Yeah.
think you could ask that question all day with
Yeah.
Lightfall. Is it worth your
Yeah,
time?
I think Witch Queen. Back to your point, E, and Paul, is that I think that Witch Queen for me by default, just the introduction of a classic Bungie campaign with a legendary mode was so well done, and where they introduced, if you want a power level by doing this, then you could be raid ready at the end, the double chest, the double rewards, the checkpoint system in between, the proper difficulty levels, the scaling. That to me, and don't get me wrong, I love Forsaken, and Forsaken's argument would probably be, I still think one of the greatest things is the introduction of the Dreaming City as a secret kind of post-camp. I think that was beautifully done. And it's one of their best skyboxes ever, in my opinion. To this day, anything Dreaming City, even the Queen's weapons love, like, yeah, that's that Forsaken energy. That's beautiful. But yeah, Witch Queen to me, it's just peak Bungie. That was the first time, and Travis, me and you've agreed on this, that I could tell a non-Destiny player to play this, and this is a campaign that's not just good for Destiny. This is a great campaign, and that's why Witch Queen still has
it's
to
tough
buff
though, because you really, for the story, you really wanted that year of setup though, because it was so good.
Yes.
How the
It
full
was?
year tied into Witch Queen, which was not true this past year for Lightfall.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, that's true, Paul. But there are a lot of people I know, including my fiance, who played it without any of the context of the year, and
Mhm.
none of the twists or story stuff was lost on her at all.
That's
She was
great.
like,
That's
"Oh,
awesome.
this is crazy!" Like the first one where what was I remember the second twist is that she was lied to. What's the first
Yeah.
twist? There's a big one early on. I can't remember it.
Oh, man,
There's
about the
multiple
whole-
twists in that game
It was like
that
an
I
old
remember.
twist, yeah.
Our whole ethos was split on its head because we
Oh,
thought,
the cliffs. The cliffs was
yes,
the
the
first.
cliff scene.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, that's
That
the
was
big
first.
one.
Bro,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
had moments. Don't get me wrong, Cade. Recipe, that I hit you, but they did spoil that in the thing, and you ain't like that. But
It was
But
the marketing.
the problem I have with
I'm with you.
problem I have
They
with
were marketing. They had to sell that. I get that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's okay to market off of the jumping off point because it's not really a spoiler if it happens in the first 5 minutes. I don't think so.
Mm.
It's like the reason there's a reason it was in the trailer. It wasn't the end, right? If they had shown the Dreaming City, then I'd be like, all right, that's not okay.
The twist was Aldrin being resurrected. That was like,
yes,
that was-
but
that didn't even happen
in
right away. That happened later. Yeah.
Yeah, that happened late in
It
fairness.
happened
Wasn't even
after
a post-credit scene.
It happened after the Mara came back, right? It was like post.
Yeah, it was
Right,
like
right.
it was like a month or two later.
When Mara got returned. And then so yeah, I think that's cool. My problem with Forsaken has always been that the campaign itself is kind of just a boring.
The structure is very boring. It's like
boring.
It's
boss.
not.
There are 6
It's a hit list.
bosses. Like,
I would
I
say
didn't like that.
for Witchcreen is the best overall. Forsaken has the best end game package. That's my take.
Yeah.
I would give
it
you
was
that.
a good era. There were so many exotics. I think we were even getting new Crucible maps back then.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We
We
get
were.
back.
We
Yeah,
were.
back.
Yeah,
we got
right.
multiple
Yeah.
strikes because we got
Yep.
just.
There
And
was
then
at
the
least
Last Wish raid is
three
still
strikes.
epic because of like the
Yeah.
18-hour
First dungeon.
time.
That was the
Yeah,
first dungeon.
after
First
that
dungeon.
opened up.
That's right. I
Ooh,
forgot, and
first
that changed
dungeon.
everything.
Yes.
Everything.
That was huge for Forsaken is amazing. Can't take nothing away from that.
Yeah.
And then last question for y'all. How many symbols we gonna have to remember in this raid?
I hope they don't do symbols. If they did so many
Jesus.
symbols last time, they gotta not do symbols this time.
I think
anyway.
I think symbols are reserved for the raids that they spent a lot of time on, and I don't think that they spent a lot of time on this one. So I think it's going to be closer to Deepstone Crypt. There's going to be like a couple simple mechanics, and maybe it'll be a decent raid. I don't know, but
I wonder
I
if
have a
they'll do the
feeling
Vex thing from the exotic mission with the symbols.
Maybe that.
Shoot 'em.
Maybe that's why they launched it early.
Although
Maybe that's the
don't use
teaching
Osteo-
mechanic.
Don't use Osteostriga on those because the poison damage.
or
I was
anything
worried
with
about-
Sunshot.
Yeah.
I've been using the Sunshot Zawuli's Bane with a curated
Yeah.
god roll, and that one, I accidentally killed a whole bunch.
Yeah,
of
you
Vex.
can't. It's got to be like just a normal
weapon.
scout rifle.
You blow up the sequence. Yeah.
I'm getting simpler raid from this one.
Okay.
That's the vibe I'm getting. So
Mhm.
we'll see.
I don't know. They've leaned more and more and more, and I don't know how much they've taken the feedback, because when we already had Last Wish, people were like, we have like 16 symbols. Why do we have so many? And then we got Beyond Light and we got 3.
Last Wish was the worst with symbols because it's like, there's 4 types of snake.
Yeah.
Like,
So then they brought in
They
like
did it to annoy you intentionally,
Yeah.
which I think they that was like, it'll be fun for them to try to like come up with call outs, and then they realized that the feedback was people hated that, and so for the new one they came up with canon names for all the symbols.
Yeah.
Which people kind of found out
was
too
the
late, I
change,
think.
so.
'Cause
Yeah.
there was a lot of,
oh yeah, because we called the whatever.
but Val
It
has
was still too
names
many.
though, Cog.
I mean,
It has
Many,
names.
bro. Too many.
Too many, but there's names. You can make a key. Everybody can agree on
this
a
is
key.
why Deep
so
Stone
that's-
Crypt is so good because it's like 3 things. Remember these
Yep,
3
suppression.
freaking symbols and rolls, and like that
Good,
was
right.
it. And then they did all the mechanics from there. I hope it's like that.
I think
No,
it will
no.
be. That's my theory.
I was trying to think of like the opening, because everybody hates Val's opening because it's just too damn
Oh
long.
god, it was so long.
Yeah.
Then you've got like the Sparrow racing of.
They could do Vex Network Sparrow Racing, yeah.
Be an
I
interesting.
forgot.
opening.
I have to make a raid guide. IGN's
Yes.
you make
You
a
have to
raid
make
guide.
raid
for
guide
this.
on top
Oh,
of
you gotta do a
Yeah.
guide?
Good lord.
So I made a raid guide for Val Disciple, and it didn't do like amazing numbers on YouTube, but the feedback was really positive. People were like, "This is a super good guide. It's super helpful. It's explained, for like some people who aren't familiar with raid mechanics." So they were like, "Let's do another one this year." So I have to.
That's a
take
lot of
raid
work,
guide.
Fred. I don't
Oh my god, dude! It was so not worth it.
No.
My fee, I should have charged them way more. It was not
Positive
worth it at
comments
all.
don't pay the bill.
Yeah, exactly.
Hopefully,
But hey,
Well,
apparently
this
it
is
did
the problem, is, like,
well
you're
enough to do
competing
another
with so
one.
many people. Like, how many of the content creators are going to make their own raid
Well, I
guides?
mean,
And I
Fallout
won't- and I
will
won't be
be
there
Vex is gonna
first.
have one up in like 5 minutes after the raid ends.
Yeah,
Like,
Cactus is
exactly.
fast. Data will be the next morning when he's done, or that
Mhm.
afternoon. Fallout
Yeah.
will be the next day after he sleeps.
Mine
and
will
puts
be
it
3
together.
weeks. 3 weeks after I'm
Yeah.
able to beat the raid, and it'll be.
I mean, I'd like to
it'll be an
try. And,
article embedding all the videos of the other guy.
yeah,
That's all I'm gonna do. Including yours, Travis.
Yeah.
like I haven't
No, I
done
thi- I
raid
thi- I think
guides,
the
and I feel
reason-
like I should, but
I think the reason IGN does them is because although Datto and those people, they have a great audience, they speak to a really narrow group of people, which are people who are super into Destiny and know where to find that content. And IGN, just by posting a video and the fact that we do SEO well and people were kind of just the go-to for the common man of gamer, like, you know, I feel like we get a lot of
the casual.
Well, we cater to casuals, but we also cater to it's a very broad wide umbrella.
You are
wide
the
umbrella.
gaming site. Like
You're like the de facto.
Hogwarts Legacy review, 257 million views. What's up?
No.
Yeah.
Seriously? 257 million views
for a tech
across
store.
all continents. We're on 6 continents.
That's crazy.
Oh, that
was that like
unbelievable?
Was that text or video or everything?
That was crazy. I hope you get paid for page view.
I get paid for page view for sure. No, bro. I get a percentage.
Yeah, he gets like 1 penny per view, and I'm over there like
I did 6.5 million on a Pokemon.
I got paid about $1 per million views.
Wait, Tassi, when you got 6, say anything on a Pokemon?
I did 6.5 million on a Pokemon Go guide, and that's my highest, like by like 4 million.
Really?
Whoa,
that's a lot, though.
That's wild.
You got to get something related to views, I'm sure.
I do. Yes.
Yeah. You do?
I do. Yeah. That was
damn, I need to get on that model. Holy shit.
It's a good model. Yeah.
A Forbes bottle lit.
What do you think he's pumping out? 5 articles a day. It's this quantity right there.
Livelihood.
Quota
is look, man, I give me some extra Eververse gear with that.
Your quota is five a day? Like that's
no, my quota is 5 a month. That's like the contributor system, like to get paid. Contributors write 5 articles a month. You can do more, and if people were smart, they would do more. But I'm the only one who does as many as I do. So it's just
I mean, last time I had you on the show, I think I had the number. I couldn't find the intro before because it was like 7,000 articles or something over the course. And then now, like if it's been a year, you've been doing so many per day. I was like, I couldn't even look it all up.
I'm at a couple billion lifetime views, I think, at this point.
That's insane.
Half of those were me on accident. Yeah. Opening Google Chrome and clicking on
Google Discover. Yeah.
Google Discover. Is this a Tassi article? Come on.
Of course it is. Yeah.
That's what's up.
Our interests have a large crossover though, because we both are on the same live service beat. They put me on a lot of live service stuff, just like you. So
yeah, it's interesting. Like I've really noticed a lot more, especially Destiny. Like Fanbyte went through this like really tough layoffs. Just like they laid off so many people, and it's essentially like a Destiny guide and Final Fantasy guide site now because like those two traffic people want that content. So like that, I've noticed a lot more people leaning into Destiny outside of just the content creator community.
Yep. No, for real. Guides as well.
I was telling the guys here in a previous episode, IGN used to do a bunch of Destiny content, and it was some of our best performing content. Fireteam Chat was the most watched podcast on IGN, more than every other podcast combined.
Considering you got Ryan McCaffrey over there, you got Beyond, you got the Nintendo video, was it? The voice chat?
NVC, yeah.
Voice chat, which I've been on. Shout out to my homies over there. But what's interesting is that as the Destiny community developed and people started carving out niches, the Ebontises of the world who just make content on Destiny, the fan base became more specific and they started going to those places, and the traffic for Destiny on IGN is so low comparatively to what it was that we almost didn't review Lightfall. I had to convince Stapleton to let me review it.
Wow.
Witch Queen did so poorly in terms of numbers because the only people who care about a Witch Queen review, they would just go to Datto, right? Like the audience has become really narrow.
It makes sense.
Well, I mean, when we talk about the new player experience, it's like nobody tells anybody to go play the new game. We had new player Travis's friends on. And this is one thing actually I meant to say.
You would have loved that episode, Paul. You would have loved it.
Oh, God, you would have been.
Where we met with new lights, and we were like, "What's your experience like playing the game?" And it was hilarious.
I gotta watch that.
The number of like,
really good
because it was really in Season of the Seraph when we did it, right? Yeah, it was this show. It was probably December. So if you go back on my channel for the only lives are this. So if you go to my channel and go to live, yeah, you'll find it. But no, I even said this to Travis, but even like they jumped in Seraph. So they were like 4 seasons into the year. Like right now, well, they didn't jump in Seraph. One of them was pretty close though. But the idea
one of them jumped in basically that season we interviewed him. And it was our first show of this year because we called it New Lights with New Year with New Lights. That was the name of the show.
Like, where else would you tell people to jump it? Like Shadowkeep? No, I'm not
Oh,
gonna.
so weird.
Witch Queen was the perfect entry
Witch
point.
Queen,
I
yeah,
think.
Witch Queen was good.
Like, that's a good
But
start.
like when they went into season, what was it, 19? They saw like the opening to like the Witch Queen, and then they saw the Nez Cafe. Like nothing made sense. All the pop-ups and everything were like totally out of order, no
I
context
saw
or
the
anything
Twitch
like
videos
that.
of like big streamers turning on Destiny for the first time in like 3 years, and there's like 50 pop-ups.
Oh, yeah.
Oh
Yes,
my
there's a
god!
ton.
Yeah, it's
Will
awful.
you stop? Will you stop? That was so funny
That
to
was
me.
No, the one thing I wanted to, because I actually said this to Travis, I think, and I was wondering because we were talking about his review, and he was like, he is where he is on it, but I was like, what would it be like for a brand new person to just buy Lightfall and log in?
I would love to see a review.
Just
I
a
wanna-
completely no context Lightfall review.
Never
They
play Destiny, open it up and play the expansion. I
open
would
it up
love
and they just, hey, I bought Lightfall. Cool. What do I get? What do I don't have? How many pay pop? Hey, buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this. Like they don't have all the seasonal pop-ups, but they would be hitting walls all
Guardian
over the
ranks
place.
Maddie basically said it was like
because you'd be given the Shahan quest. You wouldn't go straight into Lightfall. I don't
Yeah.
think.
You do get Arbalist, by the way, with that now, after it's been
Yes.
nerfed. You do get Arbalist.
I think actually, Paul, I think it might. So this is one of the things we talked about with the new lights. I think before the Shahan quest, it does.
Does it just put you in?
It makes you play It made my friend play the first Witch Queen mission first.
That's right. Yeah.
And when he was done with it, he found it. Yes, and then when he was done,
it was like free.
When he was done with it, then it popped up with an ad to say, "Please buy Witch Queen," because he didn't own it. And then he got pissed and he turned off the game. And then when he turned it on again, it did the scene with Osiris kissing Saint 14. He was like, "What is this?" He was just hell
no context.
That's like
no
a seasonal
context.
one? I don't.
Yeah.
I'm so good.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That is
They gotta
hilarious.
That they've implied they're gonna like kind of fix it after Lightfall, but like I don't think Guardian Ranks did anything to change
No.
it. Like,
I wanted to say, like, commendations are useless. Like, they're tied to a pinnacle, so everybody's just like spam. Sometimes you don't have enough time to actually like go into the other menu and find the person and click on it.
Yeah.
And then like you can't
leave the match. You can't give them.
If they leave, you
yeah,
can't
if
give
they
them
leave,
accommodation.
you can't do it from previous results in like Crucible or anything. But
It's
yeah,
a
like
beta.
well, and what made it worse is like people were literally farming them by just like dying on raid encounters over and over as a group to giving them to each other just to get to the number. And I'm like, I want to literally ask whoever is in charge of the reward system says whatever it is, like 750 for rank 6.
Like I know T-Rex, like he works at Bungie now, and this was like a big project of his, and like I think the bones are there. Like it just I don't like how they integrated it.
Yeah,
like,
no.
It should be a fun, extra positive thing. You have a good LFG, just do it. It shouldn't be tied to like progression. Like
No.
forcing people to do it like that is not a good idea.
Agreed.
Also, the awards barely mean anything. Like thoughtful,
Joyful.
Yeah.
strike, joyful. Like what are these words? Like
Thoughtful, joyful. Yeah. I think the trials and raid ones seem like in the Nightfall Grandmaster and stuff. I think those ones seem better.
those are
thought out.
better. Yeah. And
Yeah.
even
If you're just
Gambit is
strikes,
like
it's
Primeval
like-
Slayer. Like you did the most Primeval DPS, but like
Yeah.
you actually don't know that because they have the score screen on a separate thing.
Right, yeah.
What's funny is how joyful is becoming a dig. Like you sucked, but at least it was funny watching you try. And then
Oh, whoops! I have
like,
a lot of joyful.
you're actually good at.
I have a ton of joyful. You can see how
You
many
do?
you have.
I literally just don't
No,
think. I'm just like I try and click them as fast as I
I just
can.
gotta click as fast as I
Yeah.
can before the person leave the room.
Right? Gotta get
Thoughtful is
started.
the more like coveted one out of the two because
Oh.
joyful is like, oh, you made it fun, and then thoughtful's
man.
like, oh, you're actually good. You know what I mean? Like you helped.
Believe people put that much thought into what they're spamming in the 5
Exactly. Yeah.
seconds before it goes
Yeah.
away. Like there's no way. If
Yeah,
someone
you're probably
emotes at me and like I think they recognize like who I am, like I'll try to find that person at the end and specifically give
Yeah.
them one.
Nice.
Like
It did make me feel better in Crucible. Like I was playing Crucible this weekend, and you know when people would like give me Playmaker, I was top of the leaderboard. Like, yeah, okay, I'm feeling pretty good, and I felt good about those, and they felt less forced because a lot of people just they hold Y as soon as the match is over, but if they actually stop the game to give you commendation.
Now you need to stay there because to get them you can't leave. I think that's why they have it set up like that because they want people to stay in the screen to give. And when you're there, you will give them out. So I think that's why it works the way it works. But
750 though.
That's
Well, do you want to
insane.
know? Like, it's like 6,000 or something for like rank 11. It's
No, thank you.
I'm like
No, thank you.
750 because what do you get? Like,
That
if you do a
resets-
3-person,
that resets
yeah,
Yeah, Tassi?
yeah. There's things that reset too about the Guardian ranks. The fact that some of them reset. I know not all of it because I know it's the blue stuff that seasonal resets. But I'm just going the whole fact that we heard it resets. I'm going that's already a bad taste. And then you're seeing some of this stuff. You might have to get some of the Guardian ranks back. I'm like, stop. Just
I'm not
Yo,
gonna
I'm
do
so
it.
tired of seeing number go up and then number go down. Like, stop that.
I
Just
hate temporary artifact power.
whole
Like I
point
don't
is
get
to
another system with that.
I thought the
Yeah.
whole point of Guardian rank was to show like how experienced you were at Destiny. So it seems like if it resets, it 100% does not fit that
exactly
purpose.
right.
So I'm just very confused by that. It's almost one of those things I want to talk about in my review, but I'm like, they haven't done it yet. They just said that they're going to do it. So do I
Yeah, it's-
speculate and go resetting is stupid?
No,
I
or
think
do
they're going to change some stuff. I think they
They
recognize
have
that
to.
it's pretty bad right now. I think they'll change
Yeah.
some stuff by next season for sure.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I got to rank 10, now I'm rank 6 again. I'd be like, I'm never grinding this again. I could not care less. Like, I have when I already saw it was like 750, I'm like, I'm not going to go farm them. I'll give some out if I can, but I almost don't want to do it now just because I just don't care.
Yeah.
Like, because half the time I'm just trying to make sure I click on the screen, then move over and click on the person. They left the match, come over here. All of that just to try and give somebody
I need
commendation just for a rank. And if
If it wasn't tied to anything, you would just be doing it.
right,
Nice.
exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
that's the whole
Yep.
point of this.
You're right.
Like,
Well, then it was also one of the pinnacles for Hawthorne. I'm just going,
yeah, another
Mhm.
thing. That's shouldn't be there either.
Oh yeah, it's ridiculous.
I was like,
y'all play Gambit
I'm in it for pinnacle, but that's it.
for sure. Just making conversation.
Did you guys do the reworked arms dealer strike, by the way?
Yes, I have.
Did you?
I've been in the playlist, and neither of the new strikes have come up. In
I got it.
So
I got
the
to
night-
pick them up.
The Nightfall was last week, right? Or no? No, I did the Nightfall. No, I haven't seen it yet. Do you have to
Yeah, I
like
did.
escort something? I heard.
Yeah, so basically, Caiatl is in it. There's dialogue changes. There's path changes. Also, you go around freeing big signs that actually help. So you have like a little army of whatever Caiatl's Cabal are called. While you go through it, Brakazan is there. They take away every cheese opportunity. Going up the elevator where you used to melt them, rap. Remember when you used to get him when he get up top before he jumps to the big part of the sky and rap? He's segmented like a 3-phase boss with the
Just
the cutoff.
immunity phase, yeah.
The immunity phase. They like no, you're going to fight him. But I will say this: outside of that part, which is annoying because they don't want to melt, they really redid. You get it. You traverse through the map in different areas than the way you did initially. And you see a little bit of aspects that then get you back on track. So think of it like a side path with all new dialogue throughout the whole thing, voice acting from Caiatl,
Still Brakazan. They didn't.
but still Brock is on. And they
didn't really kill him the first time.
but Brock is not dead. Some other one has taken the mantle. That's what we going with.
So it is a different boss name?
Yeah. So no, it's Brock is on, but
Brakazan, somebody took up his
Oh,
name.
took up his name, like
Yes,
Brock
took
is
up
on
the
the
name.
second.
and
or-
also looks the
I don't
same.
think
And
they
wears
can
the
record an
chartreuse
entirely new
armor.
dialogue for the entire strike, and they can't change the boss.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Can't
it's the
change the
same boss.
boss's name. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same.
Does anybody else feel like Destiny's got this weird problem under the hood where they can't introduce a new model without enormous effort? Because they've been repurposing like giant versions of Hydras, as a boss in strikes since 2014. Year
I
of
mean,
our
they brought
Lord.
back
How
Brachion
the-
from, the.
Yeah,
I forget the name of the
I
strike.
read some article once about like why are all bosses in a lot of these
Yeah.
games like big versions of normal enemies, and like there's some sort of, unless you're like a boss focused game like Monster Hunter or like Elden Ring or something, like I guess there's a lot of technical reasons why that happens, but yes, it is very noticeable and it does get
Yeah.
kind of exhausting, which is why Rolk was so cool.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
no
Yeah.
one was expecting that. Everyone thought
And I
it's like,
think
oh, it's
Nezarec
gonna be
could
a
be cool,
big
too.
scorn, like, and it wasn't. It was something very cool.
Here's
So,
my proposal for the raid. We finally fight our way through the pyramid ship. We get to Nezarec. Nezarec comes up, does his evil laugh. Cabal drop pod lands on him. Right? They do that thing where Nezarec dies, and then out of it, who is it? It's our fallen friend with robot spider legs.
Tannix.
It is
Not
Tannix.
Tannix. Not Tannix. Return
Yes.
Tannix. Oh
Tannix.
god.
Tannix is
no.
coming back.
Bro,
And that's
I
when
see Tannix again.
that's when the IGN score goes down to a 4.
Honestly,
No, Travis would love that.
honestly, it could. That might push me over to the. Yeah.
I just hope we have. I enjoyed the fact that Rolk had different feel, movement on the boss platform, mechanics, caretaker, similar thing, movement between even just the damage platforms. You had to be a little more, one team was doing one thing, one team was doing another. I'm just hoping the mechanics in the raid are like
My
fun.
fear is that this is like the dream realm. I'm worried that he's going to be an Oryx reskin where he's like the big.
Yeah, I kind of think that
dude with
too.
the hands and like the one like I hope it's not that, but like that is the first thing I thought of in terms of like.
Okay.
I hope that part of the mechanic is we have to go to sleep, like get in like a coffin, because he's like a dream manipulator, right? So
Yeah.
then we could go to like a dream world.
You take a nap
Maybe
as
the
a
entire
counter,
expansion will
you
happen
can
in
silent
sleep.
for
Like,
20 minutes.
yeah, no, maybe
You want to know what I was like?
maybe the
No.
entire expansion is sleeping. Maybe that's why it looks so otherworldly. Maybe we're in a dream and we're fighting Nezarec as like a nightmare creature,
The one thing that I wish, because I was thinking about that with nightmares after I was listening to Bife's video, and I'm going, I wish there was a way for Nezarec to mess with one of our minds, where we see something like one or two, like some of us see something different, and it's almost like we could almost be fighting ourselves, and you have to like attack some of your own people as like enemies. I wish they could like mess with somebody that way.
You killed all of your fire team members, and you're like,
Hell
oh
yeah.
no.
It just turns into Crucible.
Or it's like something like, I mean,
It's
you're
the
going to be
Crucible, man.
talking to each other, so you could see who's there and who's not, but you could be like, hey, I've turned. But it's like all the enemies are like, they look like guardians, so you have to shoot a bunch of guardians or something. Some way to like flip everything on its head, I think would be interesting, because he's like a nightmare guy.
He's like an AI guardian for 10 years.
Ooh,
Yeah,
yeah.
Actions of
We got
guardians or
close
humans,
with
just like humans, and we've never.
I agree.
we got close with the Siva creatures at the end of Rise of Iron.
Yes, because they were
Those were
technically Iron
human.
Lords. Yeah.
Iron Lords,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah, at least the last thing I'll say is that they're at least trying in the campaign to have the NPCs in the battle with us. I like that Caiatl was there, even though that's the other thing we got to mention. Caiatl didn't even get the satisfaction of having a callous meeting. Really, Bungie? Like, we didn't give Caiatl the final kill or the swoop in for her. This is like the matchup. Like, they did that.
Or teabag. We could have gotten a teabag.
She did real damage. She would like her stomp attack would like actually hurt enemies. It was very shitty.
She actually soloed one of the tormentors in my playthrough.
She can do that.
Yeah,
It's
she did.
very good.
Like that was that horde fight. That was a legit encounter. That was fun because it went. Yeah, the mechanics to take care of the tanks on the timer. That part was fun, but it was like kind of the opening on the ship, the war encounter.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, and then I had the Neomuna Strand side quest filler in the middle, like, and then that's
Shall be respectful with Rocky.
Rocky. I just watched Creed, man. That's like Creed 3, the fight scenes in Creed 3.
I need to see it.
I didn't see it yet. Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say the fight scenes in Creed 3. The theater we're in, they have like D-box seats. They're the ones where they like kind of have some movement to them. And we weren't in those, but I was just thinking like every punch, like poof, poof. I'm like, dude, you go home with like bruises just from watching a fight movie.
That would have been awesome.
That's what we call the metaverse. So
hey,
be Nightfall.
Oh right.
Yeah,
it's all good.
He's employed by the metaverse, so.
Dude, sorry.
Have
you not read my like 20 anti-metaverse articles?
I love it. No, it's funny because you and Jess kiss me. I'm like, I'm sorry, brother. I'm like, that's your opinion. You're allowed to go in. Like, it does. I never take that stuff personally.
At least he didn't know you worked there. He trashed IGN earlier, and he knows I work there. So.
No. You good, brother. You good. Do your job.
We all have our fun. Don't worry.
No doubt.
I wonder why everyone's out so quiet.
No, we've had plenty of fun with that. No big deal.
We have plenty of fun with that, bro. It's all good.
Well, we're getting close to 2.5 hours. I do want to respect the dad of the podcast's time.
Yes.
Is there anything else you guys want to mention before we get to the raid tomorrow, and anything we may have not said already? I feel like we've said a lot. It's been good.
Yeah, I think so.
We got it. I'm excited for Season of Defiance. I think it's going to be a pretty good short season. It's been promising so far. So
agreed.
Thank you. By the way, 5 of 10 podcast. By the way,
5 of 10 podcast, fam. Really, fam. That was good. That was good.
Mediocre. I'll take that.
I will say last thing I'll say is I want the jacket. I want the jacket.
Good
It's
jacket.
kind of giving me the Garden Salvation's Ray
I
jacket.
like
was
the
kinda like
coloring
this.
on the inside. It is
Yeah,
cool.
and I like this one. Yeah. So I need the jacket. So I got to get the emblem, and I'm not getting the belt. So I'll just watch and see. Hopefully, Dado could break his streak, and I get number.
I saw Fallout say something, and I was like, I'd love to. It's like I wouldn't mind seeing Dado get one of the last two, but I was like, to be honest, like I would love to see Dado get Final Shapes raid finish. To just like cement kind of the GOAT status, because like Salt and Grappo and their team, they've already got 3 in a row. Like that's insane. But like the final expansion raid of the Light and Dark Saga, Dado, like I'd love to see him take that crown. I think that would be probably the best.
That would be good.
But if he gets this one, I mean, he's not going to care. So
the last thing I'll say is the thing I said last episode, in case it gets cut and we never see that again. Which the sentiment that that it's okay to have differing opinions about Destiny, and it's also okay to criticize this game we all love. It's coming from a place of love. I've been happy to see some of the Destiny community break with tradition of calling everybody who criticizes Destiny even a little bit toxic and ushering them out of the community. I've been happy to see that break, and I think that it's because we all want Destiny to be better, right? Including me. I want Destiny to be as good as it can be. I am a harsh critic. It's true. All right, Astacross, you were right.
Yeah, that was funny.
Right. I am a
Cross.
harsh critic.
You up, Cross.
I am a harsh critic. Correct.
I wrote an article
Correct.
about your review, essentially.
Tassi sniped you too. I
was like,
Oh, you did? I didn't see that.
Yeah, it was
Let's
the
watch.
impetus for like the backlash to Lightfall. Like it was the backlash to the backlash of Lightfall it started. And it's because everyone was getting so defensive when you gave it a 5, and everyone's like, whoa, Travis, like let's calm down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But no, it's like when
I
you watch
need to look
Cross's-
at that one. I haven't seen that yet.
Cross was
Yeah,
fair.
Cross.
Cross
He
was
was fair.
fair. That was like he's like I probably
Cross
wouldn't
was
get,
fair too. He disagreed, and I think he made good points. And I don't have a problem with anybody who thinks this is a 7 out of 10. I would, if I think I know the IGN review scale better than most people, and I would have you look at the IGN review scale and say, does this
No one's
read
gonna
like
look
a
at the
good
review scale,
expansion
Travis. They're
to
gonna
you?
see the
I
numbers.
know.
Ain't nobody looking at that Fantasy
know.
7.
I know that, but that's the style guide I follow. So I send people that sometimes because I say, look at what 7 says. Does this expansion read like a 7 to you? To me, absolutely not. But
You have to point people to that system every time. Okay. I don't.
Exactly. I do.
Havoc in
I mean,
here is like, can Tassi be on every episode so we can have
I
shows
know.
like this?
He
And I'm
can.
like, honestly,
Listen,
he's
man,
a
that's
dad,
right.
but he's welcome all the time.
He's
So
welcome every time.
he's a busy
Always
man.
love when he's on.
Yeah, we have great shows. Literally, our last record show on audio views was with Tassi, and then today we broke 450 live viewers, and that is definitely our substantially, massively biggest show. So once again, Tassi bringing in the metrics, but that's because I mean,
And we didn't even fight. Last
I
time
know.
it was because we got into a big fight. Remember?
Yeah.
What
It
was the
about,
fight over that?
Trials.
We mostly
Trials of
fought about
Osiris.
IGN reviews.
Yes.
What did we fight? I don't even remember what we fought about.
I remember
It
it
was
was Trials of
Trials.
Osiris. It was adding
Trials,
matchmaking to Trials.
Yes.
And my
Oh,
argument was that it was no longer Trials because they took all the
Right.
stuff that made it
Yes.
Trials away. And
Nobody
then,
takes
yeah.
it.
Meanwhile, we barely played Trials at all this past year. So.
yeah.
There you go. Hey guys, the metrics got to do it to get
Yes.
more players out there, right?
Well, quick around the horn. Everybody tell you where you can find your content. Of course, Tassi, go first. Tell them where to find your stuff.
I'm at Paul Tassi on Twitter, where I am tweeting nonstop about Destiny in the wake of the expansion, more than usual. Paul Tassi on YouTube, and then you can just Google me for my Forbes articles, or just go on Google Discover, because apparently they just auto serve them to you now. So
Go to Google Discover. That's how I find him. Although apparently the ones where he's subtweeting about me, I don't see those articles somehow.
it's not a
so,
subtweet
yeah.
if I actually name you, which I do.
Oh, you do? Oh, I didn't even
No,
see that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
No doubt. Salute to Tassi, man. Always a
Call
pleasure to have you, man.
my frenemy.
That's
It's true.
I love it.
Yeah.
No,
So you
salute, man.
should have pointed out in the article, disclaimer, Travis constantly berates me on Twitter.
That's true.
Actually, in anticipation of you being here, I've for several weeks just claimed that you're the reason everything's wrong with Destiny at some
I've
point in the
noticed,
podcast.
yes.
Yeah, so it's been good. Good.
It's very good.
Absolute pleasure, man. Always good to have you in there. And yeah, man, it's always stuff going on in this Luda show. You know we love this damn game too much. We here 2 hours
yeah.
and still talk about this damn game. So you know we love it. But always good to see you. And I'm glad we actually got a chance to meet, even though that was feel like eons ago. What was that GCX when we all met? Right?
2019 is when we met you, because you weren't there last year. Are you going this year?
Me?
GCX? No, I
He's
was
got
gonna
a
say-
kid. He's not going to GCX.
I was
He's
asking.
got a kid. Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
yeah. I didn't.
I would like to, but it's probably unlikely.
Yeah,
Fair.
I figure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be there this year.
I still have
Travis.
I've never met Paul in person. We've been on
Oh.
dozens, if not hundreds, of
I
podcasts
met
together.
Dustin at GCX.
Yes.
The reason I was never at GCX before is because it was always on E3, and I've covered E3 for like a decade. This year I think it's not, and last year E3.
Yeah,
was
it's in
canceled,
August
so
this year, so they kind of separated it.
I was in August. I don't know. I'll look into it. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Mhm.
My stuff. Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter if you care about that. But really the thing I want to promote this week is IGN First. So
Yeah,
if you don't know what IGN First is, it's IGN's monthly cover story. I have the honor of producing the cover story this month, which is about a game called Remnant 2. If you
Nice.
didn't play the game Remnant from the Ashes, it was sort
So
of a
good.
sleeper hit. It's a very good game. It's a Souls-like co-op shooter, kind of Outriders. I guess you could say Destiny-ish since it's a looter shooter type game,
Well,
but
it's
it's
like
third person.
It's like if I
Yeah.
tell it to anybody, it's a third-person Souls-like shooter. Is the best way I would always say it because
Yeah,
it's got the
good way of
dodging and
putting
it's the kind of the deliberate nature to it. But I was like, it was so much better than that description ever should have been.
Yeah,
Mhm.
It's just like
it was a much better
worked.
game, and the cool thing I got to do is I got to go to Austin, Texas, and hang out with that team for a week, and I played a bunch of the
Nice.
game.
Wow.
And the Remnant 2 is legit.
Mm.
Because that company, Gunfire Games, they made Remnant 1 with 35 people on a shoestring budget, and they have since been acquired by Embracer Group and have 3 times the number of employees. Remnant 2 is a legit game that I am super excited about, and I think Destiny fans are really going to like it because it's got that build crafting, it's got looter shooter components. And an article went live earlier today where I talk about one of the coolest things about the game, which is that every time you enter a world, the game
And I
format
just
is you
linked it
kinda
in chat.
Yeah, you
Mhm.
just linked it in chat. The game you go through like 7 different like realms or worlds. It's kind of like Ragnarok-ish, but every time you enter one, it rolls a unique version of the world for you. It's
Mm.
procedurally
Kinda like
generated, and
Diablo.
so yeah, so not only but it's crazier than Diablo because not only are like I went through the same world 3 times, and
Mhm.
one time it was like a forest with all these lizards crawling around, and I was fighting like in a dense like wooded area, and I fought one boss at the end. The second time I went through it, it was a bunch of floating islands, and there were like tentacle aliens flying around at me. And then the
Oh,
third
wow.
time I went through it, the entire level was indoors inside of a cultist's temple, and I was fighting cultists. And every time I had completely different boss fights, mobs that I was fighting
And
along
this
the
is in
way,
the same
and
realm.
the
It was like
same
a
realm,
different-
and different storylines and NPCs every
Mm.
time I did it, with
That's
different
wild.
loot and equipment you can get. And so basically, every time you play the game, you get a different role of each of the worlds, and you can re-roll your world if you want to try to see different stuff. You can re-roll different versions of it. And it's even true in the tutorial. The opening tutorial, you start in a different world, and so
Based
the
on
game is
wow.
completely different based on what role you get.
That's
And
a
it's just
lot of
I'm looking at
development
the art.
lift.
It looks like Outriders, Dark Souls, in like a good
Yes.
Yep.
way.
it really is Outriders Dark Souls.
Outriders Dark Souls. Yes.
Shout out real
Um,
quick to the legend Christopher Sharp with the $50. I think that's an animated
Damn.
sticker. Thank
It
you,
is.
man,
It's
very
a
much.
Voltron.
All of the super chats and everything in chat, you guys have been awesome for the support. If you guys are enjoying the show, if you listen to this later, drop the likes. If you're listening to the Apple podcast or Spotify, leave a review. It just helps spread the love so more people can find us. But you guys have been really awesome tonight in chat. I just want to say that real quick. Sorry.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Anyway, read my stuff. I have new articles coming out all week. Next week, I think we have an interview with some of the developers and some other stuff I can't talk about, but I've seen a bunch of the game and I'm going to be talking about it all month. So Schiller's going to shill.
No, it's like when you mentioned that's what it was, that because I knew it existed, and then I hadn't heard much when you said you were covering it. I was pumped because my buddy and I both played that one. And one of the guns in the first one still has one of my favorite reload animations for any gun, period.
Wow.
It's just
That's high
unique.
praise.
It's just really unique. It was like simple, but just the right amount of unique. And I was like, that's kind of badass. And I was just really like that. And then that stuck with me. I mean, in the fights and everything, like but that what just like that animation, I was
high
like,
praise.
that's cool. It's just
Yeah.
one of those little things
I
that
will say
sticks
this:
with you.
the build crafting, from what I saw, is already better than Destiny. Like, it is so good. So the way it works is there's like a bunch of different archetypes. I'm not allowed to say how many, but there's starting ones, and then there's ones you can find in the game, and you get to choose one as your primary archetype. It's like being a hunter or being a titan or whatever. You get a certain level of powers and abilities, and then you also have like a super, and then you get to choose a second one as your secondary archetype. And so it's all about the combinations, because your primary, you get all the powers plus the super, and the secondary, you get all the powers minus the super. And so it's about kind of choosing your cocktail of what you want to build.
Cool.
And so even though there's only, I can't say how many, but there's a certain amount of archetypes, there's a lot of different
Tiny
combinations.
Tina Wonderlands did that. The class combining.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes,
I do remember that.
got the
Okay.
Tiny Tina Wonderland. I would say it's probably a better version of that from what I've seen. And it just is super damn cool. So I'm very excited.
You sold me. I was not paying attention to this at all. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
do that.
Nice.
Looter? Yeah, that looks cool. I'm looking at the aesthetic.
Yeah. Loot. Because you'd get
What
different
is the release
weapons.
date, Travis?
It definitely
I can't say the release date. I know the release date, but that's
Release
part of our
window.
coverage. I can't
Wait
give
till
you a
the
window
show's
either.
over. Wait till the show's
this
over.
year?
I can say it's
Okay.
coming out this year. I can say it's coming out this year, but I
Nice,
can't
nice.
give a more specific window until later in the month.
Somebody's
I
like,
have I have very specific NDAs that I'm
Yeah,
juggling
no.
here about what days I can say certain stuff.
I'm
so.
sure.
somebody was like, you had me at Remnant. And I'm like, yeah, I was there. As soon as I saw Remnant 2, I'm there.
It's a good game. I'm very excited. I hope I get to review it.
So yeah, go check out that link, guys. If you're listening to audio, go to IGN, look up Remnant 2, or just look up Remnant, and you'll find the IGN first coverage.
Remnant 1 was on Game Pass. I asked Gunfire Games if they were going to have the second one on Game Pass, and they said they would love to, but they don't have a deal right now.
Okay.
So.
Well, we'll talk to Cog, see if we can get that one worked out. Cog, what do you got cooking?
Yeah, chilling, man. Just busy. The new Duke episode's up. We're talking about everything. Starfield and the whole delay, that whole thing. So go check that out for Mr. Maddie. ILP will be this Sunday.
There's no way I could listen to ILP with King this weekend.
Oh,
you kidding?
King's gonna go in. King's about to go in on this release date situation and ethics and promises and stuff of that nature. So expect an epic King rant, which would be hilarious.
Not like a lawsuit, it's a game release, Scott.
Yeah, he got thoughts. He has feelings. So we all embrace it. And Chris Reagan will join us on that.
Nice.
And then, just prepping for PAX East at the end of the month. So a lot I've been, making appointments. Some really cool games I'm seeing. Some really indie scene. A lot of really cool indies and some double and triple A surprises that I'm excited for. So get ready for that. And that's pretty much it on that front. What about you, E? What's going on with the videos? You gonna be rated guides? What you be doing, man? What's the content?
I probably should try and put a raid guide together. It's not going to be as fast as some of the crazy people because it could take all week and even try and get the thing done. Like when we did Val, we were so close. We had him in final stand partway through during contest. We were that close. And we got him most of the way through, and then we never got back to that close again. Literally, as soon as contest went off, first run.
Yeah, melted him.
Yeah, first run was done. I was like, no, we knew the mechanics. Like, we had it locked down. So, I got the team. This is the team. I got lucky to get in this one like a year and a half ago. So it's Cool Guy, True Vanguard, Jingleheimer, Hovey, and Ares, and then myself this time because Nomad's in another side of the world.
Yeah, stack team.
I mean, you can say they're a stacked team, but honestly, one of the coolest things about them, it is the most chill vibes group.
Love that.
And that is what
That's
makes it
key.
enjoyable. So if you're going to look
That's
for
the key.
anybody to get with, like if they're being annoying, frustrating, I understand that you can have a bad experience. If you find a group of chill vibes, don't get mad at each other. Just, hey.
Yes.
And I think I heard one thing from Fallout's video that will stick with everybody probably very well as you go into the raid. Don't try to blame somebody else.
Yes.
Look at yourself first. If you can do that,
Absolutely.
then,
And we lost
figure
Travis.
out what you can fix. Yeah, we may have lost
Yeah,
Travis.
Travis
He'll
Lucas,
be
man. Look, we had to kick him out. His DPS was too low. It was just that was it. He ain't doing enough DPS on the boss. We had to get you out of here, bro.
Frame rate. Yeah.
So yeah, tomorrow I will be live over there on Twitch. I will try and put a guide together if I can. Actually, yeah, we knew Travis was coming back. It's just it happens.
I don't know. I have no idea what just
We're
happened.
doing a reverse raid commendation system, and your DPS was too low for the encounter, so I had to get you out.
So for the raid encounters, Travis got the Osiris commendation.
Yeah. Just put me on div, bro. Come on, don't be like that.
Add duty.
Well, I know this went extra long, but Paul,
Yeah,
thank
long.
you so much for
Yeah,
joining
yeah.
us as always.
Thanks for having me.
You are always welcome. I know you are a busy
Yes.
man, so we try and schedule. I don't try and harass you too much, but I could have you every season. You're welcome. So
I'll try to make it not a year this time.
yeah,
Yeah,
we'll work
yeah,
on
we
that.
can't
We'll
wait
work
a
on
year.
that. So
Yeah, we can't wait a year.
I had a baby the year, so
Yes.
I think you're allowed. Yeah,
Full-time.
hopefully you got a little
Yeah.
more controlled sleep and everything at this point.
Yes.
But Cog, Travis, Paul, thank you guys. Chat, I want to thank all of you guys tonight for whether it's the super chats or just all of you guys talking all the way through. So many of you guys showed up today. Thank you, everybody, for just an amazing show. Sorry about last week, but it seems like I would say we made up for it very well. So
sir.
for episode number 240, count down the numbers. We're 60 away from 300. I know that's like that's like a year, but like that's
We'll get there.
we'll get
We
there.
get there.
We'll get there with Lightfall, so we're good. But thank you guys, everybody. It's been fantastic. And for this episode, it has been
The last
the
word.
last word.